Have you ever stood in the produce section of a modern supermarket, staring at those plastic-wrapped bags of fragile, tasteless greens, and wondered, did our grandparents actually eat this? The answer is no. Before the industrial food system decided the shape, color, and shelf life of every meal you consume, the plant world was a fortress of independence. The generations before us did not buy seeds every spring. They planted, they harvested, and they saved life in small glass jars, tucked away in dark root cellars. Today, right on your balcony or in a quiet corner of your backyard, we are going to resurrect 15 of the greatest heritage crops in history. These are the plants the commercial supermarkets hope you will forget forever. Make sure you stick around, because at number 7, I'm going to show you a bizarre root hidden beneath the soil that carries the rich, savory flavor of pan-fried sea oysters, a delicacy that even modern 5-star restaurants rarely possess. And plant number 1? It completely defies the laws of botany by physically walking across your garden. Let's begin the countdown. Number 15, Alexander's Smyrnium olusatrum, the food of the legions. Before modern celery was genetically manipulated into existence, Alexander's was the supreme survival herb of peasant families, a plant that actually followed the Roman legions as they conquered Europe. It grew fiercely along hedgerows and in the dark, forgotten corners of the garden. Every single part of it fed a family. The young shoots were boiled like asparagus, the green leaves flavored winter stews, the thick roots were roasted, and the unopened flower buds were pickled as a sharp, peppery delicacy. Its reproductive cycle is a flawless defense mechanism against brutal weather. As a fiercely cold, hardy biennial, its seeds fall to the earth in autumn, sleep silently under a blanket of winter snow, and are the very first to sprout in early spring, providing fresh food before any other crop wakes up. By the end of its life cycle, it shoots up a massive umbrella of lime green flowers, attracting thousands of pollinators, and drops a carpet of black seeds. You never have to replant it. It replants itself to serve you again next year. So, why has it vanished entirely from the modern culinary consciousness? In the 18th century, breeders created modern celery, plump, watery, but essentially tasteless, to serve mass production. Alexander's carried a wild, complex, and peppery flavor profile. Supermarkets demand crops that are easy to store, heavy with water weight for higher profit margins, and bland enough to please every palate. The fiery taste of Roman history was categorized as a weed and forgotten. Bringing Alexander's back to your balcony is an act of historical revival. Sow the seeds in a large, deep container in a shaded corner. Let it grow wild. Forage its stems for stews and pickle its buds in apple cider vinegar. Saving these heritage seeds isn't just about saving a few dollars. It is about preserving a piece of humanity that corporate grocery chains are trying desperately to erase. Plant it, reclaim your independence, and never let them dictate your meals again. Number 14, Oaxacan green dent corn, the emeralds of the ancient land. Thousands of years ago, in the sacred Oaxaca valley of the Zapotec people in Mexico, there grew a corn that refused to wear the pale yellow uniform of the modern supermarket. Oaxacan green dent corn produces cobs that look like glowing emeralds under the sun. When harvested, the kernels display breathtaking shades of moss green, jade, and brilliant emerald. The Zapotec used it to grind exceptional masa, creating the legendary green tortillas that boasted a dense, earthy flavor no modern sweet corn could ever rival. This is a true homesteader's crop, genetically engineered by nature to feed humans independently. The stalks rise powerfully through drought conditions and alkaline, nutrient-poor soil. When the green cobs dry on the stalk, they harden, creating the signature Dent. Indigenous families would harvest them and hang them from the rafters. The seed-saving process was deeply sacred. They selected the bluest, largest kernels from the very center of the best cobs to store. In doing so, the strongest survival genetics were preserved and passed down for free, generation after generation. Its commercial erasure is a direct result of our modern addiction to convenience. The modern world is addicted to instant boil sweet corn. Oaxacan green is a dent corn, requiring the slow, deliberate process of nixtamalization to grind into flour. Corporate grocery chains cannot force their customers to take the time to do that. They push the emerald cobs aside, handing you genetically modified uniform yellow corn that cooks in 5 minutes but leaves you empty. If you are pursuing a slow-living lifestyle, growing Oaxacan green in large 50-liter grow bags on your patio is a meditative experience. Harvesting these vibrant green cobs by hand, hanging them to dry, and shelling the seeds connects you directly to your ancestors. You aren't just buying a packet of seeds, you are buying back the slow, deliberate rhythm of life that the fast food industry stole from you. Number 13, purple potted peas, Blauwschokkers, nature's marker. During the golden age of 18th century Dutch kitchen gardens, the purple potted pea was the undisputed queen of the trellis. While regular green peas camouflage themselves deep within the foliage, these brilliant deep purple pods hang in plain sight like amethysts. They are not just beautiful. This vivid color acts as a flawless natural marker, allowing farmers to easily spot and harvest them even in the dim light of dusk without missing a single pod. They are sweet and tender when picked young and produce a rich, hearty soup when left to mature. The reproductive power of the purple potted pea is tied to the immortal heritage cycle. Like all open-pollinated seeds, you consume 90% of the harvest. Those few pods hiding at the very top of the trellis, leave them there. The purple skin will wrinkle, dry out, and turn a papery brown. In late autumn, you pluck those dry husks, shell the round peas, and store them in the dark. They have memorized their survival code, ready to burst into life the moment the spring frost thaws. Commercialization assassinated this beautiful plant with an absurd excuse. When you boil these purple pods, the heat breaks down the anthocyanins, turning the pods green. The industrial canning factories despised this color shift. They wanted green peas in plastic bags and tin cans to maintain a fake uniform green color 365 days a year. The greed for cosmetic consistency robbed us of one of the easiest, most productive, and visually stunning crops in history. To turn your balcony into a living painting, simply sow these seeds in a long planter box and give them a net to climb. The dual-toned crimson and violet flowers, followed by the striking purple pods, will transform your space. Supermarket hybrid seeds will cost you money every single year, but heritage purple pods will hand you color, flavor, and total control of your food forever. Number 12. Celtuce, stem lettuce, the forgotten jade sword. In the West, lettuce has always been synonymous with fragile, leafy heads, but thousands of years ago in Asia, a completely different heritage branch was developed, Celtuce, or stem lettuce. Instead of wasting energy growing a massive head of leaves, this plant channels all its life force into producing a thick, succulent stem that stands straight up like a jade sword. When you peel away the outer skin, the crisp core delivers a refreshing flavor reminiscent of roasted chestnuts and cucumber, perfect for salads or stir-fries. The natural cycle of Celtuce is a masterclass in timing. While normal leafy lettuce easily bolts and turns bitterly unedible at the first sign of summer heat, Celtuce uses that exact growth spurt to fatten its stem. You can harvest it slowly, plucking the lower leaves for fresh eating while the plant continues to reach for the sky. When the stem reaches its peak, you leave 1 or 2 strong plants in the pot to bloom into yellow flowers and release thousands of parachute-like seeds into the wind. Save those seeds for the fall planting, and the cycle continues infinitely. The reason Celtuce is entirely absent from Western supermarkets is the absolute tyranny of standardization. Grocery chains have brainwashed consumers into believing that lettuce must look like a perfectly round iceberg bowling ball. A tall, leafy, sword-like plant that requires peeling simply does not fit into automated plastic bagging machines. The demand for grab-and-go convenience effectively killed off one of the crispiest and most elegantly flavored vegetables on earth. But you are not bound by supermarket logistics. Growing Celtuce in a 20-centimeter container on your balcony is incredibly space efficient because it grows vertically. A watery head of store-bought lettuce costs $3 and rots in 2 days. With Celtuce, you harvest leaf by leaf, enjoy the sweet stem, and collect thousands of free seeds for next year. Self-sufficiency has never tasted so crisp. (11) Rapunzel, Rampion Bellflower, the stolen fairy tale. You know the Grimm brothers' fairy tale of Rapunzel, the princess with the golden hair. But did you know Rapunzel is actually the name of a vegetable? Its botanical name is Rampion. In medieval Europe, the pregnant mother in the story craved this specific plant so desperately that her husband scaled a witch's wall just to steal it. The young leaves of Rapunzel taste as sweet as butter lettuce, while the pure white taproot beneath the soil is as nutty and crunchy as a roasted chestnut. It was once the most prized crop in monastery gardens. The allure of Rapunzel lies in its beauty and generosity. It is a masterful biennial survivor. The first year, it focuses entirely on plumping its root. If you choose not to harvest it, the second year it shoots upward, blooming into spectacular, vivid violet bell-shaped flowers that attract countless bees. From these flowers, millions of seeds, as fine as dust, are born. You simply shake the dried flower head over a pot of soil, and it sows itself, promising a new generation of sweet roots without costing you a single penny. Yet, its delicate nature was its fatal flaw in the eyes of agricultural tycoons. Rapunzel roots are small, and sowing its dust-like seeds requires the careful, deliberate touch of human hands. It violently rejects mechanization. You cannot drive a massive combine harvester over a field of Rapunzel. The industry abandoned it to make way for massive, tasteless turnips that were easy to rip out of the ground with machines. It was exiled from our dinner plates and left to survive only in the pages of children's books. Growing Rapunzel on your balcony is a purely magical experience. Sow the heritage seeds in a pot of loose loam. You will gain a romantic pot of violet flowers to decorate your slow-living sanctuary, leaves for your evening salad, and roots as sweet as chestnuts. You are literally stealing the magic back from the fairy tale and planting it in reality. And this time, no witch or grocery chain can stop you. Before we move on to number 10, I need to stop and be absolutely straight with you. When you grow these heritage plants, there is a hard truth you must accept. Not every seed you press into the soil is going to grow. Some will sprout magnificently, but others will remain asleep in the dirt forever. Sometimes birds will steal your seedlings, and sometimes a sudden downpour will rot the roots. Modern economics has trained us to view failure as a financial loss, a deficit. But in a slow-living garden, failure is simply the whisper of nature. A seed that doesn't sprout becomes compost to feed the microbes. A seedling eaten by a caterpillar reminds you of ecological balance, that your garden is not a sterile laboratory. Do not be discouraged by an empty pot. The farmers of the past didn't curse the soil. They sowed extra seeds and let nature decide the rest. Embrace that imperfection, because it is exactly what makes every single leaf that does survive 1,000 times more precious. Number 10. Mangelwurzel, the Victorian calorie machine. If a crown were to be awarded to the crop that produces the most massive amount of calories per square meter of soil, it would undoubtedly go to the Mangelwurzel. The granddaddy of the modern sugar beet, this Victorian-era monster can grow to astronomical sizes, weighing up to 20 pounds each, glowing in vibrant shades of orange or crimson. Throughout the 19th century in England, it was the ultimate pantry bin of every farm, feeding humans through famines, brewing strong ales, and keeping cattle alive through long, brutal winters when not a single blade of grass could be found. The power of the Mangelwurzel lies in its explosive growth on marginal land. It pushes its massive body mostly above the soil rather than digging deep, making it incredibly easy to harvest simply by grabbing the leaves and pulling. Once stored in a root cellar or clamped under straw, it retains its moisture and sugar for 8 solid months without a single watt of electricity. In its second year, A single giant root will send up a towering flower stalk, dropping enough seeds to plant an entire acre the following spring. It is a perfectly closed energy loop. So why did such an insanely productive organism vanish? Entering the 20th century, the livestock industry mutated. Feed factories emerged, grinding corn and soy into dry, cheap industrial pellets. For humans, the sudden flood of cheap, refined white sugar made boiling Mangelwurzel for its natural sweetness seem peasant-like and labor-intensive. It was entirely erased because it didn't fit into the new era of fast food and packaged convenience. While you might not be able to grow a 20-pound root on a balcony, growing a baby Mangelwurzel in a large 5-gallon container is an incredibly rewarding gardening experience. Its young leaves are as delicious as Swiss chard, and the baby roots roast up sweeter than standard beets. Planting it is not just about growing food. It is a quiet rebellion against the industrial pellet feed system that severed our connection to primal raw energy. Number 9. Hamburg parsley, root parsley, the one ousted by the orange carrot. When we think of parsley today, we picture a curly, harmless little garnish sitting pointlessly on the edge of a restaurant steak plate. But centuries ago in Central Europe, the leaves were just a byproduct. The true value was buried underground, the Hamburg root parsley. It looks identical to a pale white parsnip, but when roasted or dropped into a bone broth stew, it releases an incredibly complex, savory flavor. A perfect marriage of crisp celery, sweet carrot, and earthy parsley. Hamburg parsley is an endurance nutrient accumulator. All summer long, it uses its leaves to photosynthesize, slowly packing starches down into its taproot. The miracle lies in its frost resistance. Even when the ground freezes solid under feet of snow, you can overwinter the roots without fear of rot. In fact, that freezing temperature acts as a catalyst, turning the root unbelievably sweet. By year 2, if you leave a few roots in the ground, they will bolt and gift you tens of thousands of seeds. That food cycle never required a trip to the store. Its downfall began when 17th century Dutch breeders decided to develop the bright orange carrot as a tribute to their royal house of Orange. The orange carrot grew faster, plumper, and looked stunningly vibrant on market stands. Commercial agriculture fell in love with the fast cash turnover of the carrot. Root parsley, with its slow growth rate and pale, unexciting white skin, was deemed unprofitable and was swiftly kicked out of agricultural history. On your suburban porch, speed does not matter. Sow Hamburg parsley seeds into a deep wooden planter. You will have fresh leaves all summer and a savory root for your winter stews. Why pay $5 for a plastic jar of artificial bouillon powder filled with MSG when you can grow the original soup root and flavor your meals with the raw power of nature? Number 8. Cherokee Trail of Tears beans, the seed of sorrow and revival. Here it is, the seed I promised you. There is not a single plant on this list that carries the heavy weight of history, quite like the Cherokee Trail of Tears bean. The name stems from the tragic events of 1838, when the U.S. government forced the indigenous Cherokee people to march thousands of miles through freezing snow to a barren reservation in Oklahoma. Thousands died along the way. During that death march, the survivors hid these tiny, jet-black beans deep in their pockets and within the seams of their blankets. It was not just food. It was the sheer will to survive. The Cherokee bean is a pole bean that champions endurance. It produces striking green pods with a purple blush that can be eaten fresh as snap beans or left to dry on the vine until the husks turn brittle, revealing the shiny black jewels inside. Its self-sustaining nature is a testament to survival. Give it a few bamboo poles and it will climb, endure the scorching sun, and yield enough protein to keep a family alive. Dry the pods, save the seeds in the dark, and you preserve the heartbeat of life for the next year. A handful of seeds walked through death and resurrected themselves eternally without the need for a single corporate laboratory. Modern seed conglomerates ignored it because it offered no monopoly. They cannot patent a seed that belongs to the heritage of humanity. Furthermore, as the Cherokee bean dries, it turns dark and wrinkled, failing to meet the artificially plump, shiny green standards supermarkets use to market to consumers. Commerce favors cosmetics, nature favors survival. With just a round pot and 3 bamboo poles tied into a teepee on your balcony, you can honor this legacy. Harvesting these dried beans for a rich winter soup delivers a hearty flavor that rivals any meat. This seed does not belong to corporations, it belongs to families who remember. By planting the Cherokee bean, you are not just growing a vegetable, you are stepping up to become a seed keeper of human history. Number 7. Salsify, oyster plant, the underground delicacy. If you told a 19th century Victorian gardener that the future would stop eating salsify, they would think you had lost your mind. Salsify, commonly known as the oyster plant, was once the absolute pinnacle of root vegetable luxury. Beneath its rough, bark-like brown skin hides a pristine white flesh. The magic happens when you peel it, boil it, and pan-fry it in a little butter. The root emits a savory, briny aroma and tastes shockingly similar to roasted sea oysters. Salsify's survival mechanism is a song of deep roots. It drives a vertical taproot straight down through hard-pan soil, hoarding nutrients over a long summer into the winter. Like root parsley, the freezing snow actually converts its starches into sugars, making it exponentially more delicious when dug up in the dead of winter. It operates on a 2-year biennial cycle. Eat the roots year 1 and leave a few to shoot up gorgeous purple flowers and scatter countless seeds to the wind in year 2. The reason salsify was forgotten by the industrial world is the very taproot that makes it so strong. The root can plunge 15 inches straight down. As agriculture shifted to massive mechanical plows, the metal blades couldn't dig that deep without snapping the roots in half. The commercial industry demanded shallow, round crops that could be ripped out of the earth quickly, like potatoes or radishes. A delicate root that required the careful lifting of a hand fork became a profit liability and was ruthlessly discarded. To grow salsify, you need a deep container, at least 40 cm, filled with loose sandy loam to prevent the roots from splitting. After 4 months of waiting, you will dig up a delicacy that even modern 5-star restaurants rarely possess. Buying a pound of real oysters will cost you a small fortune. Sowing a packet of heritage salsify allows you to pull the flavor of the sea right out of the dark soil on your balcony. While we are on the subject of underground delicacies, I want to share a small observation. Today, we are utterly obsessed with sterility. The vegetables we buy must be scrubbed pristine, flawless, and wrapped in shrink wrap. But slow-living gardening offers a profoundly different sensory experience. It is the moment you plunge your bare hands into the damp morning soil of autumn, the search for the roots hiding beneath. Dirt packs under your fingernails, and the rich, earthy scent of earthworms and decaying leaves hits your lungs. That isn't dirt. That is the microbiome that has sustained life for billions of years. When you wash a knobby root you just dug from your own wooden planter, peel it, and cook dinner, the flavor isn't just chemical compounds. That flavor comes from sweat, from anticipation, and from the most primal connection between a human being and the earth. Allow yourself the luxury of getting dirty. Number 6. Bloody butcher corn, the heart of the winter meal. Before corn was reduced to an industrial commodity used to manufacture high fructose corn syrup and ethanol gasoline, it was the beating heart of the family dinner table. In 1845, the bloody butcher corn was naturally bred in the Appalachian Mountains. Its violent name comes from the striking blood-red kernels striped across a white cob. This is not instant sweet corn. This is a dent corn, meant to be ground into a rich, sweet, deeply flavored cornmeal that baked the cornbread which saved thousands of homesteads through blizzard-choked winters. The cycle of this open-pollinated corn is the absolute definition of independence. A farmer sowed the seeds in spring. The stalks grew 10 feet tall, battling the wind and pulling minerals from the earth. In autumn, they snapped off the blood-red cobs and dried them in the rafters. Most were ground for food, but they always selected the absolute largest, most vibrant cobs, shelled the seeds, and jarred them for the next year. One cob yielded hundreds of seeds. A family never had to purchase corn seed twice in 4 generations. But in 1930, everything changed permanently. Seed corporations introduced hybrid F1 corn and later patented GMOs. Hybrid seeds will not produce healthy, true-to-type stalks if you save and replant them. Farmers were systematically stripped of their right to save seeds. The glorious crimson bloody butcher cobs were eradicated to make way for millions of acres of soulless, uniform yellow corn, strictly designed to force farmers to open their wallets and buy new seeds every single spring. If you have a small backyard or use large 50-liter grow bags, you can resurrect this heritage. Plant the corn in tight square blocks so the wind can naturally pollinate them. You will harvest deep red cobs that look like rustic art, ready to be ground into authentic meal. Stop renting your food from megacorporations. By saving a single blood-red cob, you are taking back the sovereignty of your dinner table. Number 5. Groundcherry, Husk cherry, the pioneer's delicacy. In the mid-19th century, as wagon trains of pioneers pushed out into the untamed American West, they didn't bring fussy orchard trees. They brought the groundcherry. Growing low to the soil, this relative of the tomato produces tiny golden yellow berries hidden securely inside an intricate papery lantern. Bite into one and you experience an explosion of flavor, a wildly sweet mix of pineapple, strawberry, and the tartness of a green tomato. The vitality of the groundcherry is so fierce it grows like a weed in the poorest soils. Its seeding cycle is almost completely autonomous. When the fruit reaches absolute peak ripeness, it drops itself to the ground, hence the name. The papery husk acts as a biological net, protecting it from insects and keeping it fresh for weeks. Ancestors simply scooped them off the earth for pies and jams, tossing the spoiled ones back into the dirt where the seeds would sleep and sprout automatically the following spring, an infinite loop of sweetness. Yet, the very act of dropping to the ground was a death sentence in the modern supply chain. Corporate buyers cannot drive massive harvesting machines through a field to pick them all at once. If you pick a groundcherry off the branch while it is green, it remains bitter and will never ripen. While supermarket tomatoes can be picked hard and gassed red with ethylene, the groundcherry violently refuses interference. It demands time and the manual labor of foraging from the dirt. The greed for speed tossed this delicacy out. On your porch, where you have the time to live slowly, the groundcherry is a miracle. A 30-centimeter pot placed in full sun becomes an automatic, natural candy dispenser for your family. You do nothing but water it and wait for the lanterns to fall. Why pay outrageous prices for pesticide-laden strawberries in plastic clamshells when you can grow this heritage fruit preserve from a cheap packet of seeds and regenerate it forever? Number 4. Black Spanish radish, the treasure in the snow cellar. Back in the 1800s, winter in the northern hemisphere was a death sentence for the unprepared. Scurvy, severe vitamin C deficiency, haunted every village. Against this bleak backdrop, the black Spanish radish emerged as a savior. Our grandparents didn't grow this to eat fresh in the summer sun. They sowed it in late summer, harvested it as the freezing winds began to howl, and buried these coal-black orbs in boxes of damp sand down in the root cellar. This natural preservation process is an ecological masterpiece. Its rough, black, sandpaper-like skin acts as impenetrable biological armor, fighting off rot and mold and keeping the pure white flesh inside incredibly crisp for 6 grueling winter months. When the world outside was locked in ice, a farmer simply brushed away the sand, sliced the radish thin, and ate it with salted butter for a massive hit of vitamin C. To keep this free cycle alive, they just left 2 or 3 healthy radishes in the ground to bloom in spring and yield thousands of seeds. Why would such a treasure disappear? Look at the modern produce aisle. We have been brainwashed to believe that radishes must be bright pink, perfectly smooth and bite-sized. A fist-sized radish with rough, coal-black skin looked too dirty and wild for 1950s urban housewives. The invention of the electric refrigerator and the global import system killed the ancestral art of winter food preservation. Supermarkets chose cosmetic beauty, even though those pretty red radishes turned to mush after 4 days in the fridge. If you have a partially shaded balcony in the autumn, this is the perfect crop. They don't need intense heat. A 25-centimeter deep planter is all the roots need. Sow this heritage seed, pull them up in late fall, and try burying them in a pot of damp sand in a dark corner. You will personally experience the centuries-old art of food preservation, a priceless skill that requires zero electricity and zero chemicals. Before we hit our final three, let's talk about the passage of time. We live in a society that operates at the speed of a microwave. We expect next-day delivery and instant streaming. But when you step onto your balcony and put your hands in the soil, you have to leave that mindset at the door. A garden does not care about your schedule. It operates on the ancient rhythms of sunlight, soil, temperatures, and the slow unfurling of leaves. You cannot yell at a seed to make it sprout faster. You cannot pay a plant to ripen its fruit by tomorrow. This is why slow-living agriculture is so healing. It forces you to submit to a pace you do not control. It teaches you that waiting is not a waste of time. Waiting is the very process of growth. So when you plant these seeds, take a deep breath, step back and let the earth do its quiet, unhurried work. Number 3, Orach, mountain spinach, the usurped king. Before the 20th century, if you walked into a monastery garden in France or a grand estate in England, you wouldn't find a single leaf of modern spinach. Instead, standing tall and proud under the sun was Orach, the mountain spinach. Roman farmers called it the herb of life. Flashing brilliant shades of ruby red or emerald green, Orach provided a relentless supply of mineral-rich greens from early spring straight through the brutal heat of midsummer. The superpower of Orach lies in its thermal resilience. While standard spinach completely panics at the first sign of summer heat, turning bitter and bolting to seed instantly, Orach calmly continues to push out soft, sweet leaves. Its seed loop operates flawlessly. You harvest by picking the lower leaves. By late summer, the plant towers over you, blooms into magnificent flower spikes, and drops thousands of paper-thin seeds. They sleep in the soil under the winter snow and explode into a vibrant carpet of greens the following spring. The cold chain supply network of the supermarket era assassinated this king. Orach leaves are incredibly delicate. Once plucked, they wilt within hours, if not immediately chilled. It absolutely refused to be crammed into cross-country transport trucks for weeks on end. Therefore, agricultural tycoons bred the thick, leathery, rubbery modern spinach leaves that could take a beating, sit in a plastic box, and survive 10 days on a shelf. Orach was erased from history simply because it wouldn't submit to the blandness of commerce. The truth is, bringing this regal plant to your balcony is effortless. You just need a 5-gallon container. The deep purple of red Orach doesn't just fill your salad bowl, it turns your porch into an ornamental masterpiece. The supermarket sells you fake convenience, but by sowing an Orach seed, you are harvesting centuries of culinary royalty that no amount of money can buy. Number 2, Tepary beans, the desert survivor. Deep in the cracked, scorching Sonoran desert of the American Southwest, where summer heat destroys almost all life, the indigenous Tohono O'odham people survived for thousands of years thanks to a biological miracle, the Tepary bean. While other tribes faced starvation during severe droughts, their ancestors planted this bean on dry sand dunes, waiting for just 1 or 2 rare summer drizzles to trigger germination. Protein backbone that saved countless human lives through the most extreme climatic periods in history. The survival capacity of the Tepary bean defies modern horticultural logic. Its roots plunge incredibly deep into the earth to hunt for the last molecules of moisture, while its leaves physically curl up during the day to stop water evaporation. In a rushed 60 to 80 days, it frantically blooms and produces pods packed with tiny, incredibly dense, high-protein beans. The heritage loop is simple. At the end of the harsh season, you pick the driest pods, shell them, and keep a handful of seeds in a cool jar. That is your food insurance policy for the next year, completely independent of the outside world. Its disappearance is a tragic tale of greed and industrialization. When massive dams and irrigation pipelines were built, commercial agriculture swiftly discarded the Tepary. They switched to thirsty bean varieties that required daily flooding because their seeds grew larger, held more water weight, and sold for more money. The Tepary's miraculous ability to survive without water suddenly became worthless to a supermarket system obsessed solely with visual size and scale. But you do not live in an industrial farm system. On your sun-baked balcony, where you might occasionally forget to water your pots, the Tepary bean is a savior. Prepare a 30-centimeter deep container, mix the soil with plenty of sand and gravel for drainage, and plant these seeds. You will witness firsthand how nature teaches resilience. Stop buying canned beans soaked in chemical preservatives for $4. You are holding a seed that defeated the desert. Number 1. Egyptian walking onions, the miracle of self-cloning. And here we are, number 1. The plant I told you about at the very beginning. Before soggy, plastic-wrapped bunches of scallions dominated the refrigerator aisles, the Egyptian walking onion was the undisputed king of kitchen gardens from Europe to America. Nobody knows if it actually originated in Egypt, but its name comes from an uncanny, almost alien superpower, the ability to physically walk. In the 19th century, settlers carried it as a survival treasure because once you put it in the ground, it is virtually impossible to make it go extinct from your garden. The reproductive cycle of this onion is a biological masterpiece. Unlike normal onions that shoot up flowers and scatter seeds to the wind, the walking onion produces a cluster of miniature onion bulbs right at the very top of its green stalk. As these topsets grow larger and heavier, the stalk can no longer support the weight. It slowly bends over until the bulbs touch the earth. The moment they make contact with damp soil, the little bulbs instantly push out roots, establishing a brand new onion plant a foot away from the mother. Year after year, they walk across your garden bed in an infinite self-cloning loop that requires zero human intervention. So, why do you never see them at the grocery store? Commercial agriculture absolutely despises things that refuse to stay put and look uniform. Walking onions have wild, bending stalks and knobby topsets that cannot be neatly stacked into square cardboard boxes for cross-country shipping. Moreover, why would a corporation sell you a plant that clones itself for free forever when they can force you to buy rootless, hybrid green onions for $2 every single week? To bring this living legacy to your porch, you just need a wide, 25-centimeter deep planter box. They are fiercely resilient, surviving both freezing snows and blistering summers. When the topsets get heavy, you can simply pluck them off and press them into empty pots yourself. Snip the green stalks for your morning omelets and let nature do the rest of the work. You only have to open your wallet to buy this plant exactly once in your lifetime. Outro, the keeper of the seeds. I am not asking you to rip up your entire life and turn your suburban balcony into a full-scale farming operation. I am not selling you doomsday fear. I am just asking you to pick one. Just one. That is how you start to take your independence back. Which of these 15 forgotten heritage plants are you going to reclaim this year? Let me know down in the comments. I read every single one. Reclaiming those 15 heritage crops is the ultimate act of rebellion against a broken food system. You now hold the blueprint to a living legacy that can feed your family for generations. But inspiration without execution is just a dream. The biggest mistake gardeners make after discovering these immortal seeds is putting them in a drawer and saying, "I'll wait until next spring." They look at the calendar, feel the late summer heat, and assume the growing window is closed. That is completely false. You don't need a massive farm, and you definitely don't need to wait for spring. August isn't the end of the season. It is a hidden, golden planting window. Let's move from history into immediate action. Here are 7 container vegetables you need to plant this August right now to guarantee a fresh, homegrown harvest before the winter frost arrives. Let's get our hands dirty. At number 7, scallions. Most people think green onions are something you plant in spring and harvest before summer arrives, but experienced container gardeners know August is actually one of the best times to start a fresh crop. As the intense summer heat begins to ease and nights become cooler, scallions respond with faster, healthier leaf growth and a milder, sweeter flavor. Even better, they don't require much space, making them the perfect crop for containers that have just been emptied after tomatoes, cucumbers, or peppers finish producing. According to the University of Minnesota Extension, bunching onions grow best under cool conditions and are excellent candidates for late summer planting because they establish quickly while temperatures gradually become more favorable. Instead of fighting extreme heat, the plants can focus their energy on producing crisp, tender green leaves. For containers, choose a pot that's at least 8 inches deep. Because scallions have relatively shallow roots, you can grow dozens of plants together in a surprisingly small container, making them one of the most space-efficient vegetables for balconies and patios. They're well-suited to most temperate climates and are especially productive when planted in August, giving them enough warm weather to establish before cooler fall temperatures arrive. One thing that ruins this crop is sowing the entire seed packet at once. Many beginners end up harvesting every plant during the same week, leaving nothing for later. Instead, sow a small batch every 10 to 14 days throughout August. This simple succession planting method creates a continuous supply of fresh green onions instead of one oversized harvest that quickly disappears. The reward comes surprisingly fast. Many gardeners begin harvesting young scallions in just 30 to 45 days, and you don't even have to pull the whole plant. Simply trim the outer leaves or harvest individual plants while leaving the rest to continue growing. Nutritionally, scallions provide vitamin K, vitamin C, folate, and antioxidant compounds while adding fresh flavor with very few calories. They're perfect for fried rice, homemade ramen, baked potatoes, or sprinkled over soups and scrambled eggs. For a vegetable that's inexpensive to grow, incredibly productive, and almost always successful, scallions are one of the smartest ways to begin your August container garden. At number 6, French breakfast radishes. If you want the fastest reward from your August garden, it's hard to beat radishes. While many vegetables need months before they're ready, French breakfast radishes can go from seed to harvest in about 4 weeks. Even better, August often produces better radishes than spring because the gradually cooler nights help develop crisp, juicy roots instead of the woody, overly spicy ones that hot weather often creates. Many gardeners stop planting radishes once summer arrives because they assume it's too late. In reality, August is when experienced growers begin another planting cycle, knowing the best harvests often come as temperatures slowly begin to fall. According to Cornell Cooperative Extension, radishes are cool season vegetables that develop their highest quality roots under moderate temperatures. Excessive summer heat can cause roots to become pithy and pungent, while cooler late summer conditions encourage smoother, sweeter harvests. A container that's 8 to 10 inches deep is more than enough for French breakfast radishes, giving the slender roots room to develop straight and evenly. They're well suited to most temperate climates and are ideal for August planting because they mature well before the first hard frosts arrive in many regions. One thing that ruins this crop is allowing the soil to dry out during germination. Radish seeds sprout quickly, but even a day or two of dry soil can lead to patchy germination and uneven root sizes. Keep the soil consistently moist during the first week, and you'll be rewarded with a much more uniform harvest. The payoff comes quickly. Most French breakfast radishes are ready in just 25 to 30 days, making them one of the fastest vegetables in this entire countdown. Besides being rich in vitamin C, potassium, and natural antioxidants, they bring a crisp texture and mild peppery flavor to the table. Slice them into fresh salads, serve them with butter and crusty bread the traditional French way, or add them to tacos and sandwiches for an extra layer of crunch. When you want to turn an empty August container into food before the month is over, few vegetables can compete with French breakfast radishes. At number 5, lettuce. Most gardeners associate lettuce with cool spring weather, but many experienced growers actually prefer planting it in August. After weeks of intense summer heat, nighttime temperatures finally begin to drop, creating exactly the conditions lettuce has been waiting for. Instead of bolting almost overnight like it often does in early summer, August-planted lettuce usually develops slower, sweeter, and much more tender leaves. This is why seasoned gardeners rarely consider August the end of the season. They see it as the beginning of the best lettuce growing period of the year. According to Penn State Extension, lettuce performs best under cool growing conditions, and late summer planting often produces higher quality leaves with better texture and improved flavor compared to crops grown during peak summer heat. Lettuce is also perfectly suited to containers. A pot about 8 to 10 inches deep provides more than enough room for healthy root development, allowing you to grow either full heads or dense patches of cut-and-come-again leaves. Across most temperate climates, August planting gives lettuce enough time to establish before cool autumn weather arrives, extending fresh harvests well into the fall. One thing that ruins this crop is direct sowing into containers sitting under blazing afternoon sun. Even though lettuce prefers cooler weather, many gardeners still place seed trays exactly where their summer vegetables were growing. The overheated soil dramatically reduces germination. Instead, start seeds in a lightly shaded location, or move the containers into morning sun with afternoon protection until the seedlings become established. Depending on the variety, baby leaves can be harvested in about 30 days, while mature heads are usually ready within 50 to 70 days. Lettuce is naturally rich in vitamins A and K, folate, and hydration, making it one of the healthiest fresh vegetables you can grow. Crisp romaine is perfect for Caesar salads, while butterhead varieties make outstanding wraps and sandwiches. When planted at the right time, lettuce transforms from one of the most frustrating summer vegetables into one of the easiest and most rewarding crops of the entire fall garden. At number 4, Swiss chard. If you only have room for one leafy vegetable this August, Swiss chard deserves serious consideration. While lettuce and spinach often slow down as temperatures fluctuate, Swiss chard seems almost unfazed. It establishes quickly in the lingering warmth of late summer, then continues producing fresh leaves as the weather cools. That's why many experienced gardeners rely on it as the bridge between summer and fall harvests. August planting gives Swiss chard the perfect head start. Warm soil encourages rapid root development, while cooler nights reduce heat stress and allow the plant to put more energy into producing large, colorful leaves instead of simply surviving the weather. Better yet, every harvest encourages even more growth, making one container productive for months. According to Oregon State University Extension, Swiss chard is one of the most adaptable cool season vegetables because it tolerates a wide range of temperatures and responds exceptionally well to repeated harvesting throughout the growing season. A container 10 to 12 inches deep provides plenty of room for a healthy root system, while spacing plants about 8 to 10 inches apart allows the leaves to reach full size without competing for light. Swiss chard performs especially well when planted during August across most temperate climates, giving it enough time to establish before cooler autumn temperatures arrive. One thing that ruins this crop is harvesting too aggressively too early. Many beginners remove nearly every leaf once the plant looks full, leaving very little foliage behind. Instead, always harvest the oldest outer leaves first while leaving the central growing point untouched. That simple habit allows the plant to continue producing fresh leaves week after week instead of needing to recover from heavy pruning. The reward is one of the longest harvest seasons of any leafy vegetable. You can usually begin picking leaves in about 40 to 50 days, then continue harvesting continuously throughout fall. Swiss chard is packed with vitamins A, C, and K, along with magnesium, potassium, and valuable antioxidants. The tender leaves are excellent sautéed with garlic, while the colorful stems add sweetness and texture to soups, stir-fries, and pasta dishes. For gardeners who want one container to keep producing long after summer vegetables fade away, Swiss chard is one of the most dependable choices you can make. At number 3, Lacinato kale. Many gardeners think kale is simply a cold, hardy vegetable. What they don't realize is that August is one of the best times to plant it. Instead of struggling through the hottest part of summer, young plants become established while the soil is still warm, then mature as cooler autumn temperatures arrive. The result is stronger growth, healthier leaves, and dramatically better flavor. Lacinato kale, often called dinosaur kale, because of its long, textured blue-green leaves, it's particularly well-suited to this schedule. Unlike spring-planted kale that sometimes battles heat and insect pressure, August-grown plants spend most of their productive life under the cool conditions they naturally prefer. According to the University of Minnesota Extension, kale develops its highest quality leaves during cool weather, and exposure to light frosts actually increases natural sugar levels, producing sweeter and less bitter harvests. Use a container at least 12 to 15 inches deep, allowing the plant to develop a strong root system capable of supporting months of continuous harvesting. Space plants about 12 inches apart so air can circulate freely around the foliage. In most temperate climates, August planting gives kale enough time to become well established before cold weather arrives, often extending harvests well into winter. One thing that ruins this crop is overcrowding. Because kale seedlings appear small, beginners often plant too many into one container. A few weeks later, the leaves overlap, airflow decreases, humidity becomes trapped, and disease pressure increases dramatically. Giving each plant adequate space produces healthier leaves and much larger harvests over time. The reward is well worth the patience. While young leaves can be harvested in about 50 to 60 days, the plant continues producing for months if you remove only the lower outer leaves and leave the growing tip intact. Lacinato kale is exceptionally rich in vitamins A, C, and K, calcium, fiber, and powerful antioxidants. It's outstanding in hearty Tuscan soups, slow-cooked pasta dishes, or baked into crisp kale chips. And here's the best part. Don't rush to harvest everything before the first cold night. After a light frost, many gardeners discover that dinosaur kale becomes noticeably sweeter, one of nature's rewards for simply being patient. At number 2, arugula. If there is one leafy green that perfectly captures the advantage of August planting, it's arugula. During the hottest weeks of summer, this fast-growing salad green often bolts before gardeners have a chance to enjoy it. But once August arrives and nighttime temperatures begin to cool, everything changes. Seeds germinate more reliably, plants grow faster, and the leaves develop a milder, more balanced, peppery flavor that makes arugula one of the best vegetables for a fall container garden. This is why experienced gardeners don't treat August as the end of the season. They see it as the beginning of a second opportunity to grow one of the quickest and most rewarding leafy greens of the year. According to Iowa State University Extension, arugula is a cool season crop that produces its highest quality leaves under moderate temperatures. Heat causes rapid flowering and stronger bitterness, while cooler late summer conditions encourage continuous production of tender foliage. Arugula doesn't require a large container. A pot 8 to 10 inches deep provides more than enough space, and seedlings can be thinned to about 4 to 6 inches apart for healthy growth. In most temperate climates, August planting allows several productive harvests before winter arrives, making excellent use of containers that previously held summer vegetables. One thing that ruins this crop is waiting too long to harvest. Many beginners leave the leaves on the plant hoping they'll become larger, but mature arugula quickly develops a much stronger, almost overpowering peppery flavor. Instead, begin harvesting when the leaves are about 3 to 4 inches long. Picking young leaves regularly not only gives you the best taste, but also encourages the plant to continue producing fresh growth. One of arugula's biggest advantages is speed. Baby leaves are often ready in only 25 to 35 days, making it one of the fastest vegetables in this countdown. Nutritionally, it's packed with vitamins A, C, and K, calcium, and natural nitrates that support healthy circulation. Its bold flavor pairs beautifully with homemade pizza, pasta, sandwiches, or fresh salads topped with Parmesan cheese and olive oil. Sometimes the best fall harvest isn't the vegetable that grows the biggest. It's the one that goes from seed to salad before most gardeners even realize the season has changed. At number 1, bush beans. This may be the most surprising vegetable on today's list. Most gardeners think bean season is over by August. They assume they waited too long and simply move on to cool season crops, but experienced gardeners know there's still one final opportunity if they act quickly enough. Think of August bush beans as a race against the calendar. Unlike pole beans that require a long growing season, bush beans mature incredibly fast. Many modern varieties are ready in just 50 to 60 days, giving gardeners one last chance to harvest baskets of fresh beans before the first frost arrives. Every day you delay planting shortens that opportunity, which is why August timing matters so much. According to Clemson Cooperative Extension, many bush bean varieties are excellent candidates for late summer planting because of their short maturity period, provided gardeners select fast-growing cultivars and plant before their local first frost date. Choose a container at least 12 inches deep, allowing enough room for healthy roots while spacing plants about 4 to 6 inches apart. Bush beans adapt beautifully to containers, and the warm soil of August helps seedlings establish quickly before cooler autumn weather takes over. One thing that ruins this crop is choosing the wrong variety. Many beginners buy whatever bean seeds they find at the garden center without checking the days to maturity. A variety that needs 70 or 80 days may never finish before frost arrives. Always choose bush beans that mature in 60 days or less. Those extra 2 weeks can make the difference between a full harvest and plants covered with immature pods when cold weather suddenly arrives. The reward comes quickly. Bush beans usually produce a concentrated harvest over several weeks, filling the plant with crisp, tender pods. They're naturally rich in fiber, vitamin C, folate, potassium, and plant-based protein, making them one of the healthiest vegetables you can grow in a small space. Fresh beans are outstanding stir-fried with garlic and butter, roasted alongside potatoes, or lightly steamed as a simple side dish. If there's one vegetable that perfectly represents August gardening, it's bush beans. Because August isn't about starting a long season, it's about making the most of the one that's left. Those 7 container vegetables are perfect for transitioning your patio into the late summer season. Whether you are using transplants or direct sowing, they will give you a quick, rewarding harvest as the weather begins to cool. But there is another, much stricter side to August gardening. While some crops are forgiving, others are actively watching the clock. There is a specific group of crops that absolutely rely on the residual heat of August soil just to germinate. If you wait until September to start these seeds, the soil will simply be too cold to wake them up, and the days will be too short for them to outrun the incoming frost. You are quite literally racing against the calendar. Let's turn up the urgency. Grab your seed packets. Here are the 7 seeds you absolutely must start in August before the window closes and it is simply too late. Taking the number 1 spot is kale. And once you understand how professional gardeners use it, you'll never think of it as just another leafy green again. Most beginners wait until late September to plant kale, hoping cooler weather will help it grow. Unfortunately, by then they've already lost several valuable weeks of growing time. Experienced gardeners take the opposite approach. They sow kale in seed trays during the first half of August, allowing the seedlings to develop a strong root system while summer crops finish their final harvests. Then, just as those tomatoes, peppers, or cucumbers begin declining, the young kale plants are ready to move into the empty containers. Instead of restarting the garden from scratch, the transition happens almost overnight. This timing isn't just convenient, it's supported by research. According to the University of Minnesota Extension, kale develops its best flavor after exposure to cool autumn temperatures because the plant converts stored starches into natural sugars, making the leaves noticeably sweeter after light frosts. In other words, August sowing sets the plant up perfectly for its highest quality harvest. Kale performs well across USDA hardiness zones 3 through 10 and tolerates winter temperatures well below 20 degrees F, with many varieties surviving even colder conditions under light protection. For seed starting, use a 72-cell or 50-cell seed tray filled with a lightweight seed starting mix. Sow each seed about 1 4-inch deep, keep the medium evenly moist, and place the tray where temperatures remain between 65-75 degrees F for rapid germination. Most seedlings emerge within 5 to 10 days. One of the biggest mistakes gardeners make is leaving seedlings in tiny cells too long. Once they develop 2 or 3 sets of true leaves, usually after 4 to 5 weeks, they're ready to transplant into a 5 to 10 gallon container enriched with compost. For dependable fall harvests, varieties like Lacinato, Dinosaur Kale, Red Russian, and Darkabor are excellent choices. After transplanting, you'll usually begin harvesting in another 30 to 40 days, meaning many gardeners enjoy their first fall leaves just 60 to 70 days after sowing. Pick the outer leaves first and allow the center to keep growing, and one plant can continue producing for months. Better yet, kale becomes even sweeter after a few chilly nights, making it perfect for crispy kale chips or a hearty Tuscan kale soup that tastes like autumn in every spoonful. Coming in at number 2 is bok choy, one of the fastest and most rewarding vegetables you can start in August. If you've ever tried growing bok choy in late spring, you've probably seen it bolt almost overnight as temperatures rise. That's exactly why experienced gardeners rarely treat it as a summer crop. Instead, they sow the seeds in trays during early August, allowing the seedlings to develop safely while the worst summer heat begins fading. 4 to 6 weeks later, when those worn-out cucumber vines or bush beans come out of your containers, your bok choy seedlings are perfectly sized and ready to take their place. It's one of the quickest succession crops you'll ever grow. This timing is supported by research. According to Cornell Cooperative Extension, bok choy is a cool season crop that performs best as temperatures decline, while excessive heat and increasing day length significantly increase the risk of bolting. By starting seeds in August and transplanting as cooler weather approaches, gardeners dramatically improve both yield and quality. Bok choy grows well across USDA hardiness zones 3 through 10 and tolerates light frosts down to approximately 28 degrees F. For seed starting, use a 72-cell seed tray filled with a fine seed starting mix. Sow each seed about 1 4-inch deep and keep the medium consistently moist. The ideal germination temperature is 65-75 degrees F, and seedlings usually emerge within 4 to 7 days. Once they develop 3 to 4 true leaves, typically after 3 to 4 weeks, transplant them into a 3 to 5 gallon container with fertile, compost-rich soil. Choose reliable varieties such as Joy Choi, Shanghai Green, or White Stem Pak Choi, all of which mature quickly and produce crisp, tender stems. After transplanting, you'll usually begin harvesting in just 30 to 40 days, making bok choy one of the fastest vegetables in your fall garden. You can harvest the entire head at once or remove the outer leaves individually for a longer harvest period. Its sweet, juicy stems and tender leaves are outstanding in a garlic stir-fry or a comforting Asian noodle soup. When space opens up in late summer containers, few vegetables can replace tired summer crops as quickly and successfully as bok choy. Taking the number 3 spot is spinach, a vegetable that actually prefers the second half of the gardening season. Many beginners become frustrated because spring spinach often bolts before they can enjoy a decent harvest. That's because spinach dislikes increasing temperatures. Professional gardeners solve this problem by doing the opposite. They wait until early August to start seeds in trays, then transplant the young seedlings just as the weather begins cooling. By the time summer vegetables finish producing, spinach is ready to move into the containers and take over, providing fresh harvests throughout fall and, in many climates, well into winter. The science behind this strategy is well established. According to Oregon State University Extension, spinach produces its highest quality leaves under cool temperatures, while hot weather rapidly triggers bolting and reduces both flavor and tenderness. That's why late summer sowing often outperforms spring planting in many parts of the United States. Spinach grows successfully throughout USDA hardiness zones 3 through 9 and can survive temperatures down to approximately 15 degrees, with some varieties tolerating even colder conditions under row covers. Start seeds in a 72-cell seed tray using a moisture-retentive seed starting mix. Sow each seed 1/2 inch deep and keep temperatures between 60 to 70 degrees for the best germination. Because spinach seeds lose viability faster than many vegetables, always purchase fresh seed each season instead of relying on old packets. Varieties such as Bloomsdale, Longstanding, Space, and Corvair are excellent choices for fall container gardens. Seedlings are usually ready to transplant after 3 to 4 weeks into a 3 to 5 gallon container filled with fertile soil enriched with compost. Expect your first harvest about 35 to 45 days after transplanting, depending on the variety and temperatures. Harvest the outer leaves continuously while leaving the center growing, and one planting can supply fresh greens for weeks. Spinach is perfect for a simple fresh salad or folded into a rich, creamy spinach pasta where its sweet, cool weather flavor truly shines. By starting seeds in August instead of waiting for autumn, you'll gain weeks of extra production that many gardeners completely miss. At number 4 is broccoli. And August is exactly when experienced gardeners begin thinking about it. If you've ever planted broccoli in late spring, you've probably been disappointed by loose heads, bitter flavor, or plants that bolted before producing anything worthwhile. The problem isn't the broccoli, it's the timing. Broccoli loves cool weather, not summer heat. That's why professional gardeners don't sow it directly into containers in August. Instead, they start seeds in trays now, allowing sturdy seedlings to develop while their tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers finish the season. 4 to 6 weeks later, those summer crops come out, and healthy broccoli transplants move into the empty containers without missing a beat. This strategy is backed by research. According to Oregon State University Extension, broccoli develops the highest quality heads when it matures during cool weather, while prolonged heat can cause loose heads, poor flavor, and premature flowering. Starting seeds in August helps synchronize harvest with ideal fall temperatures. Broccoli grows well across USDA hardiness zones 3 through 10 and tolerates temperatures down to approximately 25 degrees. with mature plants often surviving light frosts. For seed starting, use a 72-cell or 50-cell tray filled with a high-quality seed starting mix. Sow each seed 1 to 4 inch deep, keep temperatures between 65–75 degrees, and maintain even moisture. Seedlings usually emerge within 5 to 7 days. Once they develop 3 or 4 true leaves, typically after 4 to 5 weeks, transplant them into a 7 to 10 gallon container filled with fertile, compost-rich soil. If possible, choose varieties like Desico, Green Magic, or Bellstar, which perform especially well for fall production and often continue producing side shoots after the main head is harvested. You'll usually harvest the main head about 55 to 70 days after transplanting, depending on the variety. Even better, many broccoli varieties continue producing smaller side shoots for several weeks after the main harvest, giving you multiple pickings from a single plant. Fresh broccoli is outstanding when roasted with olive oil or added to a comforting broccoli cheddar soup. Few vegetables reward good timing more than broccoli, and August is the perfect time to begin. At number 5 is romaine lettuce, one of the easiest vegetables to fit into an August succession planting plan. Most gardeners associate lettuce with spring, but experienced growers often achieve their best harvests in fall. Instead of sowing directly into hot containers where seeds struggle to germinate, they start romaine indoors or in a shaded seed tray during early August. By the time summer vegetables are removed, those young lettuce plants are already strong enough to transplant into their final containers, giving them a huge head start before cooler weather arrives. There's a good scientific reason for this approach. According to the University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources, lettuce germination declines dramatically when soil temperatures become too warm, making seed trays placed in cooler, shaded locations far more reliable during late summer. Starting seeds under controlled conditions greatly improves germination and early growth. Romaine grows successfully across USDA hardiness zones 3 through 10 and easily tolerates light frosts down to around 28 degrees. Use a 72-cell seed tray filled with a light seed starting mix and sow the tiny seeds only 1 per 8 inch deep, barely covering them with soil. Keep the medium evenly moist and, if possible, maintain temperatures around 60 to 70 degrees for the best germination. Seedlings usually appear within 4 to 8 days. After 3 to 4 weeks, transplant them into a 3 to 5 gallon container with fertile, well-drained soil enriched with compost. Excellent varieties include Paris Island Cause, Cherokee, and Little Gem, all known for crisp leaves and dependable fall performance. You'll usually begin harvesting in about 45 to 60 days after transplanting, although you can also pick baby leaves much earlier. Harvest outer leaves first or cut the entire head when it reaches full size. The crisp texture and mild sweetness make romaine perfect for a classic Caesar salad or fresh grilled lettuce wraps. By raising seedlings in trays first, you avoid the toughest part of growing lettuce in August and set yourself up for crisp, productive harvests all through the fall. At number 6 are bush beans, one of the smartest succession crops you can start in August. Most gardeners think beans are strictly a spring vegetable, but bush beans mature so quickly that they're perfect for filling containers after summer crops begin fading. Instead of waiting until tomato plants completely die, experienced gardeners sow bush bean seeds in trays during early August. 4 to 6 weeks later, those sturdy seedlings are ready to replace tired tomatoes, peppers, or zucchini, keeping your containers productive instead of sitting empty. There's solid research behind this timing. According to the University of Minnesota Extension, bush beans grow and produce best during warm weather, but many varieties mature in as little as 50 to 60 days, making late summer succession planting an excellent strategy before the first frost. The key is choosing fast-maturing varieties rather than long-season pole beans. Bush beans perform well across USDA hardiness zones 3 through 10. While they don't tolerate frost, they grow vigorously in temperatures between 70 to 85 degrees, exactly what many regions experience during August. Because bean roots dislike disturbance, use a 24-cell or 36-cell tray instead of tiny seed trays, so each seedling develops a stronger root ball before transplanting. Sow seeds about 1 inch deep in a well-drained seed starting mix and keep the soil consistently moist until germination, which usually occurs within 5 to 8 days. Transplant seedlings after 2 to 3 weeks before they become root-bound into a 5 to 7 gallon container filled with fertile compost-rich soil. Reliable varieties include Provider, Contender, and Blue Lake Bush, all known for fast maturity and dependable yields. You'll usually begin harvesting 50 to 60 days after sowing, with fresh beans appearing continuously over several weeks. Pick pods every few days to encourage even more production. Bush beans are delicious lightly steamed with butter or tossed into a colorful fresh garden salad. For gardeners practicing succession planting, few vegetables replace declining summer crops faster while delivering such generous harvests. At number 7 are cucumbers, but not just any cucumbers. August is the perfect time to start a second crop, provided you choose compact, fast-growing bush varieties. By late summer, many spring cucumber vines are exhausted from heat, powdery mildew, or insect damage. Rather than trying to revive declining plants, experienced gardeners simply start a new generation in seed trays. While the old vines finish producing, the new seedlings quietly grow stronger. When space opens up a few weeks later, healthy young plants are ready to move into the same containers and continue the harvest well into early fall. This strategy is recommended by many gardening experts. According to Cornell Cooperative Extension, cucumbers are highly susceptible to diseases such as powdery mildew later in the season, making succession planting an effective way to maintain healthy, productive vines. Starting fresh plants is often more successful than trying to save old ones. Cucumbers grow across USDA hardiness zones 4 through 10, but they remain sensitive to frost and perform best between 70-90 degrees. Since cucumber seedlings develop rapidly, start them in a 24-cell tray or 4-inch nursery pots rather than tiny plug trays. Sow seeds about 1 inch deep and keep the growing medium evenly moist. They usually germinate within 3 to 7 days. Transplant after 2 to 3 weeks before the roots become crowded into a 10 to 15 gallon container with rich, well-drained soil and a sturdy trellis. Compact varieties such as Space Master 80, Patio Snacker, and Picklebush are excellent choices because they're bred specifically for container gardens and mature quickly. You'll usually begin harvesting 55 to 65 days after sowing, depending on the variety. Pick cucumbers while they're still young and crisp, because frequent harvesting encourages the vines to keep producing. Fresh cucumbers are perfect for a cool cucumber salad or homemade refrigerator pickles. A second planting in August is one of the easiest ways to extend your cucumber season without waiting until next spring. Bonus tip number 1, don't use plain seed starting mix. One of the biggest reasons gardeners struggle with August seed starting isn't the seeds, it's the growing medium. During late summer, tiny seed trays dry out incredibly fast. If you forget to water for even a single hot afternoon, the surface can become bone dry, and newly germinated seedlings may never recover. A simple solution used by many experienced gardeners is to create a mix that holds moisture longer. Combine 50% high-quality seed starting mix with 50% coconut coir, cocoa coir. The seed starting mix provides excellent drainage and air pockets for young roots, while the cocoa coir acts like a sponge, helping the tray stay evenly moist between waterings. The National Garden Bureau also notes that coconut coir improves moisture retention while maintaining excellent aeration for healthy root development, making it an outstanding addition for seed starting. This one small change gives your seedlings a much better chance of surviving hot August weather with far less stress. Bonus tip number 2, water from the bottom, not the top. After sowing your seeds, resist the temptation to water them every day with a watering can from above. Strong streams of water can displace tiny seeds, compact the soil surface, and create the perfect conditions for fungal diseases. Instead, place your seed tray inside a shallow tray filled with about an inch of water and allow the growing medium to absorb moisture from the bottom. Once the surface becomes evenly damp, simply remove the tray and let excess water drain away. According to the University of Minnesota Extension, bottom watering helps reduce common seedling diseases because the soil surface stays drier while roots still receive consistent moisture. Professional growers rely on this technique because it produces stronger root systems, more uniform germination, and healthier seedlings with very little extra effort. Bonus tip number 3. Never wait for an empty container. This may be the most valuable lesson in today's video. Most gardeners wait until their tomatoes are completely dead before thinking about what comes next. Professionals never do. Instead, they start the next crop 4 to 6 weeks before the current one finishes. While tomatoes are producing their final fruits, your kale is already growing. While cucumbers begin slowing down, your bok choy is already developing its first true leaves. By the time those old summer vegetables are ready to come out, your young seedlings are already strong enough to take their place the very same day. There are no empty containers, no wasted growing time, and no long gaps between harvests. Once you begin thinking this way, your container garden transforms from a seasonal hobby into a continuous food-producing system. Getting those 7 crucial seeds into the dirt right now is your ultimate insurance policy against the winter. They demand your immediate action, and they are going to take time to mature. But let's be honest, waiting months for a harvest can test anyone's patience. What if you want fresh food on your plate immediately? Or what if August is almost over and you are panicking because you think you have completely missed your chance? Take a deep breath. While those long-term seeds are quietly establishing their roots, nature also offers us a sprint. There is a completely different category of hyper-fast crops that laugh at the calendar. Let's shift gears from the long marathon to instant gratification. Here are 7 container vegetables you can still plant in August that will explode from seed to harvest in just 30 days. At number 7, pea shoots. When most gardeners think about growing peas, they immediately imagine waiting months for pods to develop. That's why very few people consider planting them in August. They assume the season is simply too short. But experienced gardeners know a much faster secret. Instead of growing peas for the pods, they grow them for the shoots. Pea shoots are the young stems, leaves, and curling tendrils harvested while the plant is still in its earliest stage of growth. You still get that fresh, naturally sweet pea flavor, but instead of waiting 60 to 80 days, you can begin harvesting in less than a month. It's one of the fastest ways to turn an empty container into fresh food before summer is over. According to Oregon State University Extension, pea shoots are harvested while plants are still juvenile, allowing gardeners to enjoy a crop long before the plant reaches its pod-producing stage. Since the harvest happens so early, nearly all of the plant's energy goes into producing tender green growth rather than flowers or peas. One reason pea shoots are so popular for container gardening is that they require very little root space. A shallow rectangular planter, window box, fabric grow bag, or round pot all work well. Choose a container that's 6 to 8 inches deep with a capacity of around 2 to 3 gallons if you're using a round pot. If you're using a rectangular planter, the wider the surface area, the better, because you'll be sowing the seeds very densely. Unlike full-size peas that need room to climb, pea shoots are harvested young, so maximizing planting space is far more important than container depth. August provides excellent growing conditions across most temperate climates as cooler nights begin returning while the soil remains warm enough for rapid germination. One thing that ruins this crop is planting the seeds too far apart. Many beginners treat pea shoots exactly like regular garden peas, spacing each seed several inches apart. That produces healthy plants but very few shoots. The goal here is completely different. Scatter the seeds thickly across the entire surface so they grow into a dense carpet of tender stems. More seeds mean more harvest from exactly the same container. The reward comes incredibly quickly. Most gardeners can make their first cut in just 18 to 25 days when the shoots reach about 4 to 6 inches tall. Using clean scissors, simply harvest the stems just above the lowest pair of leaves. Many varieties will regrow for a second cutting if the weather remains favorable. Nutritionally, pea shoots are loaded with vitamins A, C, and K, folate, chlorophyll, and powerful antioxidants. Their sweet, crisp flavor makes them perfect for fresh salads, sandwiches, stir-fries, ramen, or blended into nutrient-rich green smoothies. If your goal is to harvest something before next month is over, few vegetables can compete with pea shoots. They're proof that sometimes the fastest harvest doesn't come from growing the whole plant. It comes from harvesting it while it's still young. At number 6, French breakfast radishes. If there is one vegetable that can convince a gardener it's never too late to plant in August, it's the humble radish. While tomatoes and peppers are thinking about slowing down, radishes are just getting started. In fact, many experienced gardeners prefer sowing them now rather than in late spring because cooler nights produce sweeter roots, crisper texture, and far fewer problems with bolting. Among all the varieties available, French breakfast radishes stand out for one simple reason: speed. Their long, slender roots mature incredibly quickly, making them one of the fastest vegetables you can grow in containers. Instead of waiting months for a harvest, you're often pulling beautiful red and white roots before the next month has even begun. According to University of Minnesota Extension, radishes are one of the quickest cool-season vegetables gardeners can grow, with many varieties reaching harvest size in as little as 3 to 4 weeks under favorable conditions. Radishes don't need deep containers, but they do need consistent growing space. A round container of 2 to 3 gallons, a long window box, or a rectangular planter all work extremely well. Choose a container at least 6 to 8 inches deep so the roots can develop straight instead of becoming stunted. Wide containers are often better than deep ones because they allow you to sow several rows at once, producing a much larger harvest from a small footprint. August is an ideal planting time throughout most temperate climates because warm soil encourages rapid germination, while cooler evenings improve root quality. One thing that ruins this crop is waiting too long to harvest. Many beginners assume bigger means better, so they leave radishes in the soil for another week or two. Unfortunately, the opposite usually happens. The roots become woody, pithy, and overly spicy instead of crisp and tender. Check the shoulders of the roots as they begin pushing above the soil. Once they reach about an inch in diameter, they're ready to pull. The reward comes remarkably fast. Most French breakfast radishes are ready in only 25 to 30 days, making them one of the quickest vegetables in the entire garden. They're an excellent source of vitamin C, potassium, antioxidants, and dietary fiber, while their crisp texture makes them perfect for fresh salads, sandwiches, tacos, or simply sliced with a little sea salt and butter. Sometimes the fastest harvest isn't measured in months. Sometimes it's measured in weeks. At number 5, baby bok choy. Few vegetables benefit from August planting as much as bok choy. During late spring and early summer, rising temperatures often cause plants to bolt before they develop full heads. But plant the exact same seeds in August and the results can be completely different. Warm soil speeds up germination, while cooler nights encourage compact growth in tender, juicy stems. That's why experienced gardeners often save one of their best bok choy crops for the second half of the growing season. Baby bok choy is harvested young, long before reaching full size. Instead of waiting for massive heads, gardeners enjoy compact plants with crisp white stems and dark green leaves that are exceptionally sweet and tender. According to Cornell Cooperative Extension, bok choy performs best during cool growing conditions and is particularly well suited for late summer planting because lower temperatures significantly reduce premature bolting. For containers, choose a round pot of about 3 gallons, a fabric grow bag, or a rectangular planter that's at least 8 to 10 inches deep. If you're growing several plants together, rectangular containers usually make harvesting much easier because you can maintain even spacing between each plant. Thin seedlings to about 6 inches apart, giving each one enough room to form a compact head. Across most temperate climates, August planting provides excellent conditions for rapid establishment before autumn temperatures arrive. One thing that ruins this crop is allowing the soil to dry out repeatedly. Unlike radishes, bok choy develops best when soil moisture stays relatively consistent. Repeated cycles of very dry soil followed by heavy watering can slow growth and reduce leaf quality. Water deeply whenever the top inch of soil begins to dry, helping the plants grow steadily without unnecessary stress. The payoff comes surprisingly quickly. Baby bok choy is often ready to harvest in just 30 to 35 days. You can harvest the entire plant at the base or remove outer leaves individually for a longer picking season. Nutritionally, it's packed with vitamins A, C, and K, calcium, folate, and antioxidants, making it one of the healthiest leafy vegetables you can grow. It's delicious, stir-fried with garlic, added to noodle soups, grilled whole, or served fresh in Asian-inspired salads. Planted in August, and before many gardeners realize summer is ending, you'll already be harvesting crisp, restaurant-quality bok choy from your containers. At number 4, arugula. If you've ever grown arugula in late spring, you've probably experienced the same frustration. The plants start beautifully, then a stretch of hot weather arrives, flower stalks shoot upward almost overnight, and the leaves become noticeably more bitter. That's why many gardeners mistakenly believe arugula is difficult to grow. The truth is, they're simply planting it at the wrong time. August is when arugula begins to shine again. The soil is still warm enough for rapid germination, but cooler nights slow bolting and encourage a steady supply of tender, peppery leaves. Instead of racing to produce flowers, the plant spends more time producing exactly what we want: fresh, edible foliage. According to Iowa State University Extension, arugula is a cool-season leafy vegetable that develops its best flavor and leaf quality under moderate temperatures, making late summer planting ideal in many regions. Because arugula develops a relatively shallow root system, it doesn't require a massive container. A 2 to 3 gallon round pot, a fabric grow bag, or a rectangular window box all work extremely well. Aim for a container at least 6 to 8 inches deep. Rectangular planters are especially productive because they allow multiple short rows, giving you a continuous supply of leaves from a surprisingly small space. Thin plants to about 4 to 6 inches apart if growing for mature leaves, or sow more densely if you prefer repeated baby leaf harvests. One thing that ruins this crop is waiting until the leaves become too large before harvesting. Many beginners assume bigger leaves mean a bigger harvest, but older arugula develops a much stronger peppery bite. The sweetest flavor comes from young leaves around 3 to 4 inches long. Frequent harvesting also signals the plant to keep producing fresh growth, extending your harvest for weeks. The reward comes fast. Baby leaves are often ready within 25 to 30 days, and mature leaves follow shortly afterward. Arugula is naturally rich in vitamins A, C, and K, calcium, folate, and beneficial plant compounds called glucosinolates, which are associated with many cruciferous vegetables. Its bold flavor transforms pizza, pasta, sandwiches, burgers, salads, and even scrambled eggs. For gardeners looking for maximum flavor in minimum time, few vegetables deliver faster than arugula. Sometimes the quickest harvest is also the one with the biggest flavor. At number 3, tatsoi. At first glance, tatsoi doesn't look particularly impressive. It grows low to the ground, forming a neat rosette of spoon-shaped leaves instead of tall stems or giant heads, but don't let its appearance fool you. This is one of the most cold-tolerant and dependable leafy vegetables you can plant in late summer. Unlike many greens that struggle with changing temperatures, tatsoi actually improves as the weather cools. August planting gives it the perfect head start. Warm soil helps seeds germinate quickly, while gradually cooler nights encourage thick, glossy leaves that stay tender and sweet far longer than many other Asian greens. According to Penn State Extension, tatsoi is a cool-season brassica that performs exceptionally well during fall production because it tolerates cool temperatures while maintaining excellent leaf quality. For container gardening, tatsoi is wonderfully compact. A 2 to 3 gallon round container, a fabric grow bag, or a rectangular planter that's 6 to 8 inches deep provides more than enough room. Because the plant grows outward rather than upward, wider containers are often more productive than deeper ones. Space plants about 6 inches apart, allowing each rosette to fully develop while still fitting several plants into one container. One thing that ruins this crop is overcrowding the seedlings. Because tatsoi starts so small, many gardeners hesitate to thin their seedlings. The result is a crowded patch where plants compete for light and airflow, producing smaller leaves and increasing the risk of disease. Giving each plant proper spacing results in larger, healthier rosettes and a much better harvest. The payoff comes quickly. Baby leaves can often be harvested within 25 to 30 days, while full rosettes usually mature in about 35 to 40 days. Tatsoi is packed with vitamins A, C, and K, calcium, potassium, and antioxidants, making it one of the most nutrient-dense leafy vegetables you can grow. Its mild flavor works beautifully in salads, stir-fries, noodle dishes, soups, or lightly sautéed with garlic and sesame oil. Perhaps the best part is its resilience. As temperatures continue dropping toward autumn, tatsoi often keeps growing long after many summer vegetables have already finished. Planted in August, and your containers may still be producing beautiful green harvests when the rest of the garden has started slowing down. At number 2, baby leaf lettuce. Most gardeners think lettuce belongs to spring. They sow it early, enjoy a few weeks of harvests, and then watch the plants bolt as summer temperatures climb. By August, many people have already given up on growing lettuce altogether. But experienced gardeners know August is actually the beginning of lettuce season all over again, as the intense heat of midsummer slowly fades and nights become cooler. Lettuce once again grows the way it was meant to, quickly, tenderly, and without rushing to flower. Instead of trying to produce large heads, many gardeners switch to baby leaf lettuce, harvesting young leaves while they're at their sweetest and most nutritious. According to University of California Agriculture and Natural Resources, lettuce is a cool season crop that performs significantly better as temperatures moderate, making late summer planting one of the best strategies for extending the harvest into fall. Baby leaf lettuce doesn't require deep containers, but it benefits from plenty of surface area. A 2 to 3 gallon round pot, fabric grow bag, window box, or wide rectangular planter that's about 6 to 8 inches deep is ideal. If you're growing a salad mix, sow seeds more densely than you would for head lettuce. Wide containers allow dozens of plants to grow together, creating a thick carpet of leaves that can be harvested repeatedly. One thing that ruins this crop is letting the soil completely dry out after germination. Lettuce has shallow roots, and young seedlings are especially sensitive to inconsistent moisture. If the soil repeatedly dries out, growth slows dramatically and the leaves often become tougher and more bitter. The goal isn't constantly wet soil, it's steady, even moisture that keeps the plants growing without stress. The reward arrives quickly. Most baby lettuce varieties are ready to begin harvesting in just 25 to 30 days. Rather than pulling the whole plant, simply snip the outer leaves while leaving the center intact. This cut-and-come-again method allows the same container to produce multiple harvests over several weeks. Nutritionally, baby lettuce provides vitamins A, C, and K, folate, fiber, and valuable antioxidants, while offering the crisp texture that's perfect for fresh salads, sandwiches, wraps, tacos, and homemade burgers. Sometimes the smartest way to grow lettuce isn't trying to produce giant heads. It's harvesting young leaves again and again from the very same container. At number 1, baby spinach. This is probably the biggest surprise on today's countdown. Most gardeners think spinach and August simply don't belong together. After all, spinach is famous for thriving in cool spring weather, not during the hottest part of the year. And they're absolutely right if you're planting in June. But August is different. By the time late summer arrives, the soil is still warm enough for incredibly fast germination, while the gradually cooling nights create ideal conditions for spinach to establish before fall arrives. Instead of fighting extreme summer heat, young plants grow into the increasingly favorable weather ahead. That's exactly why experienced gardeners often produce some of their best spinach harvests by planting in August. According to Cornell Cooperative Extension, spinach is a cool season vegetable that performs exceptionally well when planted for fall production because cooler temperatures improve leaf quality while greatly reducing the risk of premature bolting. For containers, spinach is wonderfully compact. A 2 to 3 gallon round pot, fabric grow bag, or wide rectangular planter, at least 6 to 8 inches deep, works perfectly. Because spinach roots remain relatively shallow, surface area is much more important than depth. Sow seeds closely together if your goal is baby leaves, allowing dozens of plants to grow in a single container and creating a dense, highly productive harvest. One thing that ruins this crop is placing the container in intense afternoon sun throughout August. While spinach loves bright light, newly emerging seedlings can struggle when containers become excessively hot. Giving the pot morning sun with light afternoon shade during the hottest weeks often produces healthier plants, faster growth, and noticeably better tasting leaves. The reward comes in only 25 to 30 days, when the leaves are young, tender, and packed with nutrition. Baby spinach is one of the most nutrient-dense vegetables you can grow, providing outstanding amounts of vitamins A, C, and K, folate, iron, magnesium, and lutein. Harvest the outer leaves regularly, allowing the center to continue growing for repeated harvests. Fresh baby spinach is delicious in salads, omelets, smoothies, pasta, soups, and sautéed with garlic and olive oil. If you only plant one fast-growing vegetable this August, make it spinach. Because while most people think the season is ending, experienced gardeners know the best greens are only just beginning. Those 7 hyper-fast crops give you the ultimate instant gratification. Knowing you will be harvesting fresh food in just 30 days is incredibly exciting, and it keeps your garden highly productive. But here's the danger. It is very easy to get so distracted by these quick wins that you forget the bigger picture. While those fast seeds are sprinting towards harvest, the seasons are quietly shifting around you. Fall is practically knocking on your door, and your containers are likely completely exhausted from the brutal summer heat. If you want your upcoming fall garden to thrive, you cannot wait for the leaves to drop to start planting. You need to reset the battlefield today. Let's shift our focus from planting to foundation. Here are 5 crucial things you must do right now to prepare your container garden for the coming fall. Number 5. Audit your containers. Before planting anything for fall, take a hard look at the containers you already have. This sounds simple, but it's one of the most overlooked steps in seasonal container gardening. Most gardeners see an empty pot and immediately think about what they can plant in it. Experienced gardeners first ask a different question. Is this container actually ready for another crop? After months of summer growth, a container can look perfectly normal from the outside, while the growing medium inside has changed dramatically. Repeated watering can cause soil particles to settle and compact. Roots from the previous plant may have filled much of the available space. Organic matter may have broken down, and drainage may no longer be as reliable as it was earlier in the season. You also need to evaluate the plant that currently occupies the container. Is it still growing strongly? Is it still producing enough food to justify the space? Or has it reached the point where you're spending more water and attention than the plant is giving back? This is especially important in a small space garden because container space is limited real estate. Every pot has an opportunity cost. If one exhausted summer plant is occupying a large container while a healthy fall crop could be establishing there, you're potentially losing weeks of production simply because you're reluctant to make the transition. But that doesn't mean you should remove every summer plant immediately. Instead, divide your containers into 3 categories. Keep the plants that are healthy, productive, and still worth the space. Transition containers where the summer crop is declining but can remain for a little longer while you prepare the next crop. And remove plants that are diseased, exhausted, or producing so little that keeping them no longer makes sense. The important thing is to make the decision intentionally. Don't plant your fall garden into a summer problem. If a container has poor drainage, fix the underlying issue. If the growing medium has become heavily compacted, improve it before introducing new plants. If roots have completely filled the container, recognize that the next crop may need a fresh environment. Think of August as an annual inspection for your container garden. You're not simply cleaning up summer. You're deciding which pieces of your garden deserve to continue into the next season. Number 4. Refresh the potting mix. After a long summer of growing, your container soil may look almost exactly the same as it did in spring. But underneath the surface, a lot has changed. Roots have been pulling nutrients from the growing medium for months. Organic matter is broken down. Repeated watering can compact the soil, while fertilizers may leave behind accumulated salts. By August, a container that started the season loose and productive can become tired, dense, and much less forgiving. That's why one of the smartest things you can do before planting your fall garden is refresh the growing medium instead of simply planting into it again. And here's an important mindset shift. Used potting soil isn't necessarily dead soil. If the previous plant was healthy and the container didn't suffer from serious disease or pest problems, there's often no reason to throw everything away. You can rebuild what you've already got. Start by removing the old summer plant and clearing away large roots and obvious debris. Then look at the soil itself. Does water disappear immediately through the container? Does it sit on the surface? Does the soil feel hard and compacted instead of loose and crumbly? Those signs tell you more than simply looking at the color of the soil. The next step is restoring organic matter. Mature compost can help replenish the biological activity and organic material that were gradually consumed during the summer. But don't make the mistake of filling the entire container with compost. A productive container needs balance. Too much fine organic material can hold excessive moisture and reduce the airspace roots need. That brings us to the second part of the reset: structure. Healthy roots need both water and oxygen. If the growing medium has become dense, incorporating a material such as perlite can help create additional air spaces and improve drainage. The goal isn't simply to make the soil lighter, it's to create a growing medium that can hold moisture while still allowing excess water and air to move through the root zone. And before planting anything new, check the drainage. If water is sitting in the bottom of the container, adding more fertilizer isn't going to solve the problem. Fix the structure first. This is especially important going into fall because cooler weather means evaporation slows down. A container that seemed to dry out every day during August can suddenly stay wet for much longer once temperatures fall. So, think of this process as a reset, not a replacement. You're taking a growing medium that has already supported one crop and giving it a second life. Refresh the organic matter, restore the structure, improve aeration, check drainage, then let the container become ready for its next job. Because your fall vegetables don't need brand new soil. They need healthy soil that has been prepared for another season of growth. And once that soil is ready, there's still one major challenge to deal with before those fall crops can truly get established: August heat. Number 3. Protect the root zone from August heat. When gardeners think about protecting plants from summer heat, they usually look at the leaves. They see drooping foliage, scorched edges, or flowers falling off, and immediately think the plant needs more shade. But with container gardening, there's another part of the plant quietly taking the punishment: the roots. A container can become dramatically hotter than the surrounding ground, especially when it's sitting on concrete, balcony, or another surface that absorbs and reflects heat. Dark-colored pots can become even hotter when exposed to direct afternoon sun. And unlike plants growing in the ground, container roots have a relatively small volume of soil available to buffer those temperature swings. This creates a strange situation. The plant may appear healthy in the morning, yet by late afternoon, the root zone can be under serious heat and moisture stress. Water evaporates faster, the growing medium dries unevenly, and the plant has to spend more energy simply trying to survive the environment around its roots. That's why August isn't the time to ask only, does this plant need more water? You should also ask, how can I make this container less hostile to the roots? The first strategy is mulching. A layer of organic mulch across the surface of the container can slow evaporation and reduce the speed at which the growing medium heats and cools. It doesn't need to be complicated. Straw, shredded leaves, or another suitable organic mulch can act as a protective layer between the intense summer air and the soil underneath. The second strategy is using shade intelligently. You don't necessarily need to put every container into full shade. In many cases, the most useful shade is protection from the harshest afternoon sun. A location that receives gentle morning sunlight but becomes shaded later in the day can dramatically change the environment around a container. You can also create microclimates by positioning taller plants near smaller containers or using walls and structures that block the strongest afternoon exposure. The goal isn't to eliminate sunlight, it's to reduce the period when the container is receiving the most intense heat. And there's another strategy that works particularly well in urban container gardens: double potting. Instead of allowing the growing container to sit directly exposed to the environment, place it inside a larger outer container. The extra layer creates an additional buffer between the root zone and the surrounding heat. It won't magically make a container cool, but it can reduce the severity of temperature swings. This is where container gardening becomes less about following a fixed set of rules and more about reading your environment. A black plastic pot sitting on a south-facing balcony in August is experiencing a very different reality from the same plant growing in a large, light-colored container beneath partial afternoon shade. The plant hasn't changed, the environment has. And that's the mindset you need going into fall. Your goal isn't simply to keep plants alive through August. You want to protect the root systems so they remain strong enough to support the next generation of crops. Because the fall garden you're planting in August still has to survive the summer that's happening right now. And while you're protecting those roots, there's another clock already ticking: the fall planting window. Number 2. Start your fall garden before fall arrives. Here's one of the biggest mistakes container gardeners make: waiting for fall weather before starting a fall garden. It sounds logical. Summer ends, temperatures cool down, and then you plant cool season vegetables. But by the time the weather finally feels like fall, you've already lost valuable growing time. The better strategy is to think of August as the establishment period for your fall garden. You're not necessarily trying to harvest everything in August. You're giving your fall crops enough time to germinate, develop roots, and establish themselves while the soil is still warm and there are enough daylight hours for growth. Think about the timeline differently. August is for establishment, September is for active growth, October is for harvesting, and depending on your climate, some crops can continue producing well beyond October. This is especially important with container gardening because you have more control over your planting space. You don't have to wait for an entire garden bed to become available. One container can finish with a summer crop while another begins the next season. Fast-growing crops are especially useful during this transition. Radishes, arugula, and baby bok choy can establish relatively quickly, allowing you to turn an empty container into a productive fall crop without waiting months. Then you have crops that need a little more time, such as beets, turnips, lettuce, and carrots. These are exactly the kinds of vegetables where getting started early can make a noticeable difference. The plant gets established before the coldest weather arrives, rather than trying to build its root system while temperatures are already dropping. And then there are longer season fall crops such as broccoli and kale. These need even more patience. If you wait until the weather is obviously cold before starting them, you may find yourself far behind. But there's an important distinction here. Starting early doesn't mean ignoring the heat. August can still be brutally hot in many parts of the country. Some cool season crops may struggle if exposed to the harshest afternoon conditions. That's why the strategies we discussed earlier, mulch, afternoon shade, and protecting the root zone, become part of your fall planting strategy too. You're creating a bridge between two seasons. The summer environment helps your seedlings establish quickly, while your management keeps the heat from overwhelming them. And this is where container gardening has a major advantage. You can move a container into a more protected location if temperatures spike. You can place it where it receives gentler morning light. You can group containers together to create a more favorable microclimate. You're not simply planting a crop, you're managing the transition between seasons. The mistake is thinking, I'll start my fall garden when fall arrives. Instead, think, I'm planting for fall while summer is still here. Because you're not planting for August, you're planting for the harvest you'll want several weeks from now. And that brings us to another decision every container gardener eventually has to make. When is a summer plant no longer worth the space it's occupying? Number 1. Build your first frost survival system now. The first frost doesn't become a problem on the night it arrives. It becomes a problem weeks earlier when you realize you weren't prepared for it. This is especially true with container gardening. A plant growing in the ground has a large mass of soil surrounding its roots, which provides some natural insulation. A container has far less protection. The root zone can cool down quickly, and the plant itself is more exposed to wind and sudden temperature changes. But there's one major advantage container gardeners have: mobility. A container can move. That simple fact can completely change how you prepare for frost. Instead of waiting until the forecast suddenly shows a freezing night, decide in advance where your most valuable containers will go. A sheltered corner beside a building, a covered patio, a protected balcony wall, or even a garage can provide a very different environment from an exposed location. You don't need to move every container. Focus on the plants that are most valuable, most vulnerable, or easiest to relocate. The second part of your frost system is physical protection. Have frost blankets, row covers, or other breathable protective materials ready before you need them. The important word is ready. You don't want to discover on the evening before a frost that you have nothing suitable to cover your plants. And remember that protection isn't only about the leaves. A layer of organic mulch can help buffer the soil and reduce rapid temperature changes around the roots. It won't make a container frost-proof, but it can help create a more stable root environment. You can also use the structure around your home to create microclimates. Walls can provide some protection from wind and may retain heat after sunset. Containers grouped together can be less exposed than isolated pots sitting in open space. A sheltered location can sometimes make a meaningful difference during a short cold event. But frost preparation isn't only about protecting plants, It's also about knowing when to harvest. This is where your strategy needs to change as the season moves toward freezing weather. Don't always wait for every vegetable to reach its maximum possible size. If a hard frost is approaching, harvesting mature or nearly mature produce can be smarter than risking the entire crop. For leafy greens, you may be able to harvest outer leaves while allowing the plant to continue growing. For root crops, you can decide whether they're better left protected in the container or harvested before severe freezing arrives. For tender crops, the forecast may determine when it's better to harvest rather than gamble. The key is to stop thinking of frost as a surprise. Frost is a deadline. And once you know that deadline is coming, you can work backward. August is when you prepare the materials. September is when you watch how your fall crops establish. October is when you begin paying closer attention to overnight temperatures. And when the first frost finally approaches, you already have a plan. That is the real advantage of preparation. You're not trying to defeat the weather. You're making your garden less vulnerable to it, because a resilient container garden isn't one that never experiences heat, cold, drought, or sudden weather changes. It's one where you've already decided what you're going to do when those conditions arrive. So, your containers are audited, your soil is refreshed, and your frost strategy is completely in place. You have built the perfect nutrient-dense foundation for the autumn season. But an empty container, no matter how perfectly prepared, does not produce food. As the days grow shorter, a silent countdown begins. The first frost is slowly making its way towards your patio, and your planting window is closing fast. This is no longer the time to experiment with slow-growing crops. You need plants that are biologically hardwired to race against the calendar and actually win. Now that your battlefield is ready, let's transition from preparation into immediate action. Here are 10 extremely fast-growing vegetables you need to plant right now to secure your food supply before that first hard freeze arrives. At number 10, baby bok choy. When time is running out before the first frost, one of the biggest mistakes you can make is waiting for every vegetable to reach its maximum size. Baby bok choy gives you another option. Instead of waiting for a huge, fully mature plant, you can harvest the tender young leaves and stems much earlier, turning a relatively short growing window into an actual harvest. That's what makes baby bok choy such a useful late-season container crop. It grows quickly, stays relatively compact, and doesn't require a large footprint. One container can provide a surprising amount of fresh food without taking over your balcony or patio. And because the entire plant is useful, you're not waiting for one tiny part of it to reach maturity. The leaves and stems can both become part of your harvest. There's also a strategic advantage to growing it as the weather begins to cool. Bok choy is a cool season vegetable, so you're not asking it to fight the extreme heat of midsummer. As temperatures moderate, the growing environment becomes much more comfortable for the plant. That gives gardeners a valuable second window after the hottest part of summer is past. But there's one thing you need to watch closely: timing. Bok choy can react to stressful conditions by bolting, especially when temperatures swing dramatically. That's why the goal isn't simply to plant it and forget about it. Think of the crop as a race against the calendar. Keep an eye on the weather, watch the plant's development, and harvest before the approaching frost or a sudden weather shift closes your window. And here's the important mindset: don't wait for perfect maturity. If the plant has produced tender, usable leaves and stems, you've already won. A smaller harvest today is more valuable than a perfect harvest that arrives after the first hard freeze. That's why baby bok choy earns the number 10 position. It's compact, fast, versatile, and perfectly suited to the gardener who realizes that the growing season is ending, but still has time to squeeze one more harvest out of an empty container. At number 9, arugula. When you're racing the first frost, few things are more valuable than a vegetable you can start eating before it reaches full maturity. That's exactly what makes arugula such a smart late-season container crop. You don't need to wait for a large, fully developed plant. The young leaves are already the harvest, which means your container can begin producing food while many slower vegetables are still growing. Arugula also fits perfectly into the changing conditions of late summer and early fall. It prefers cooler weather, and as the intense heat of summer fades, the leaves often become more pleasant and less aggressively peppery. Instead of fighting the declining temperatures, you're using them to your advantage. That's an important strategy when the calendar is working against you. The other advantage is how efficiently arugula uses space. You don't need a large container or a complicated garden setup. A relatively small container can hold a dense patch of greens, turning a forgotten corner of a balcony, patio, or windowsill into a quick source of fresh food. And because you're harvesting leaves rather than waiting for a single fruit or root to mature, the same planting can provide more than one meal. But there's a trap. Gardeners sometimes make the mistake of waiting too long because they want maximum leaf size. When you're approaching frost, that's the wrong mindset. Harvest what the plant gives you while the weather is still favorable. Young leaves can be just as useful in salads, sandwiches, wraps, and cooked dishes. Arugula is therefore less about growing a giant plant and more about converting time into food. If you have only a few weeks left in the season, a crop that can be eaten young has a major advantage over one that requires months of development. That's why arugula takes number 9. It may look like a simple leafy green, but strategically, it's one of the easiest ways to turn the final weeks of the growing season into fresh harvests. At number 8, radishes. If you're looking for a vegetable that can turn a short growing window into an actual harvest, radishes are almost impossible to ignore. They don't need months of warm weather, and unlike crops where the harvest depends on producing flowers or fruit, radishes put their energy into a fast-forming root beneath the soil. That makes them especially useful when the first frost is approaching. You aren't trying to build a massive plant before winter. You're simply giving the crop enough time to develop a usable root. And because radishes are naturally suited to cooler conditions, late summer into early fall can be an excellent opportunity to grow them. There's another reason radishes work so well in containers. They don't demand much space. A relatively shallow container can become productive surprisingly quickly, which means even gardeners with only a few spare pots can add another harvest before the season ends. And don't overlook the leaves. When you're trying to maximize food from limited space, the root isn't necessarily the only useful part of the plant. The young greens can also be harvested and used in cooking, giving you another way to turn the same container into food. But the real advantage of radishes is their speed and flexibility. If the weather changes suddenly, you haven't invested months into a crop that may never mature. You've chosen a vegetable specifically because it can produce something edible within a relatively short window. That leads to an important late-season gardening rule. When time is limited, choose crops that reward you early. You don't need to wait for the perfect giant radish. Harvesting at a useful size is often the smarter strategy, especially when a hard freeze is approaching. That's why radishes earn the number 8 spot. They're compact, fast, cool season friendly, and capable of turning an otherwise wasted container into one final burst of fresh food before winter takes over. At number 7, turnips. When the growing season is running out, turnips give you something most vegetables can't: more than one way to harvest from the same container. The roots develop underground, while the leafy tops can be harvested earlier, giving you fresh food before the main crop is even ready. That makes turnips especially valuable when you're working against a frost deadline. The important thing is not to think of turnips as a vegetable that has to reach maximum size before it becomes useful. Young turnip roots can be tender and flavorful, while the greens can be picked gradually as the plant develops. Instead of waiting for one final harvest, you're creating several smaller harvest opportunities throughout the remaining growing season. Turnips also fit naturally into the transition from late summer to fall. They prefer cooler conditions than many warm season vegetables, which means the declining temperatures of early fall can actually work in your favor. As the weather becomes more comfortable for cool season crops, your turnips can continue developing while summer vegetables begin to slow down. For container gardeners, this is a valuable strategy. A single container doesn't have to provide food only once. You can harvest some greens, allow the root to continue developing, and eventually harvest the turnip itself. That means the same patch of soil can provide multiple forms of food within a relatively short window. There's also a psychological advantage. When gardeners see the first frost approaching, they often assume everything has to be harvested immediately. But turnips give you more flexibility. You can begin using the greens while allowing the roots to continue developing until the weather forces your hand. And that leads to the bigger lesson. When time is limited, choose plants that give you multiple ways to win. You don't need a perfect root crop to get value from the container. The leaves can feed you first, and the root can become the second harvest. At number 6, baby carrots. Carrots are often considered a slow crop because gardeners imagine those large, perfectly formed roots that take months to mature. But when the first frost is approaching, you don't have to play by that rule. You can harvest carrots young, and that completely changes their value as a late-season container crop. The strategy is simple. Don't wait for the biggest carrot. Harvest the usable carrot. Young carrots can be tender, sweet, and incredibly useful in the kitchen. That means a gardener with only a limited number of weeks left can still turn a container into food instead of waiting for a full-sized harvest that may arrive too late. Carrots are also naturally suited to cooler weather. As temperatures drop, the roots can develop a sweeter flavor, making the transition into fall an advantage rather than a problem. Instead of seeing cooler nights as the end of the crop, you're giving the roots conditions that can improve their quality. And containers offer another benefit. A dedicated carrot container can be placed where it receives enough light while remaining easy to monitor as the weather changes. If a hard freeze is approaching, you have much more control over a container than a large garden bed. You can protect it, move it to a sheltered location, or simply harvest the roots before the worst weather arrives. The biggest mistake is assuming that every carrot needs to become full-sized before it counts as a harvest. When you're gardening against a deadline, maturity is a sliding scale. A small root that you can eat today is more valuable than a larger root that never gets the chance to mature. That's the mindset that makes baby carrots so useful at the end of the growing season. You're not trying to beat the calendar by forcing a slow crop to grow faster. You're changing the definition of success and harvesting the crop at the stage the remaining season can realistically support. At number 5, beets. When you're trying to squeeze one last harvest out of the growing season, beets have a major advantage. You don't have to choose between harvesting the leaves and waiting for the root. The leafy tops can become food while the underground beet continues developing, giving you more value from the same container. This makes beets particularly useful in the weeks before the first frost. Instead of waiting until the roots reach their maximum size, you can gradually harvest some of the outer leaves and use them in salads, sautés, soups, or other dishes. Meanwhile, the root remains underground, continuing to develop. You're essentially creating a two-stage harvest from one plant. Beets also appreciate the cooler conditions of fall. As the intense summer heat fades, the plants can continue growing without the stress that often affects warm weather vegetables. And because the edible portion is underground, the crop has some natural protection from changing temperatures. For container gardeners, that combination is extremely useful. A container of beets isn't just a single harvest waiting at the end of the season. It can become a small food reserve that provides greens first and roots later. If frost arrives earlier than expected, you've still gained something from the planting instead of losing the entire crop. There's also a valuable mindset behind this strategy. Use the plant in stages. When the calendar is short, you don't need every part of the crop to mature at exactly the same time. Harvest what is ready while allowing the rest to keep working. And if the roots are still small when a hard freeze is approaching, you can simply change your strategy and harvest them earlier. Young beets can still be useful in the kitchen, and you haven't wasted the remaining weeks of the season waiting for perfection. Beets show that fast food production isn't always about finding the fastest growing plant. Sometimes it's about choosing a crop that gives you something edible at several different stages of growth. At number 4, spinach. This is where the countdown starts to change. Instead of simply asking which vegetables can grow quickly before frost, we're looking at crops that can actually become more comfortable as the weather gets colder. Spinach is a classic cool season vegetable, and that makes it particularly valuable when summer is ending and fall is taking over. The biggest advantage is that you don't need a giant, fully mature plant to start harvesting. Young spinach leaves can be picked as soon as they're large enough to use, allowing you to turn a container into food relatively quickly. And if the weather stays mild, the plants can continue producing new leaves instead of giving you one short harvest. This makes spinach a smart choice for gardeners who don't know exactly when the first frost will arrive. You aren't depending on one specific harvest date. You're creating a flexible window in which the plant can provide usable leaves whenever the weather allows. Spinach also demonstrates an important late-season principle. Cold isn't always the enemy. Many warm-season vegetables begin shutting down as temperatures fall, but cool-season greens can continue developing when those same conditions arrive. Instead of trying to protect a summer crop from the inevitable change of season, you're choosing a plant that is naturally prepared for it. In a container, this becomes even easier to manage. You can keep spinach close to the house, where temperatures may be slightly more stable, and provide some protection when unusually cold nights appear. That can help extend the harvest beyond what you might expect from an exposed garden. And because spinach is harvested for its leaves, you don't have to wait for flowers, fruits, or large underground roots. Every new leaf represents potential food. That's what makes spinach so valuable in the final weeks before frost. You're not fighting the calendar. You're choosing a crop whose natural preferences line up with the changing weather, then harvesting it while the conditions remain favorable. At number 3, kale. When the first frost is getting closer, kale becomes less of a vegetable you're trying to finish before winter and more of a vegetable that's prepared to meet winter head-on. While many warm-season crops begin fading as temperatures drop, kale can continue producing useful leaves through cool weather, making it one of the smartest choices for the final stretch of the growing season. The biggest advantage is that you don't need to wait for one perfect harvest. Kale gives you leaves gradually. Pick the larger outer leaves, leave the growing center intact, and the plant can continue producing new growth. That means one container can become a recurring source of food instead of a crop you harvest once and remove. This is especially valuable when the frost forecast is uncertain. Maybe you have 3 weeks left, maybe you have 6. With kale, you don't have to know the exact date. You simply keep harvesting while the plant continues growing. If temperatures remain moderate, the harvest window can keep extending. Kale also demonstrates an important principle for late-season gardening. Choose plants that tolerate the direction the weather is moving. Instead of planting something that needs increasingly warm conditions while temperatures are falling, you're choosing a crop that can remain productive as the season transitions toward winter. And don't assume that a smaller plant is a failed plant. When you're racing the calendar, A handful of young leaves can be more valuable than a large plant that never reaches maturity. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is food. That's why kale becomes such a strong late-season container crop. It gives you flexibility, repeated harvests, and a much larger margin for error than vegetables that depend on a single harvest date. At number 2, Swiss chard. If kale is the vegetable that refuses to quit, Swiss chard is the vegetable that keeps giving you reasons to come back to the container. Its greatest advantage isn't simply how quickly it can produce leaves. It's the way those leaves can be harvested individually while the plant continues growing. That makes Swiss chard almost like an insurance policy for the end of the gardening season. You don't need everything to mature at the same time. You can pick a few large leaves for dinner today, leave the younger leaves developing, and return again later. Instead of one harvest, you're creating a series of smaller harvests from the same container. This becomes especially valuable when the first frost date is unpredictable. A sudden cold night doesn't necessarily mean you've lost everything. You can simply harvest more of the usable leaves before severe weather arrives. And because Swiss chard is a cool-tolerant leafy vegetable, it can remain productive as the growing season moves into fall. For container gardeners, that flexibility is a major advantage. A single pot can keep producing leaves without requiring a large amount of horizontal space. It also gives you more control when temperatures suddenly drop because the container can be positioned in a more sheltered location if necessary. There's a bigger lesson here. When you're short on time, don't choose crops that demand one perfect harvest. Choose crops that let you take food whenever it's ready. That's exactly what makes Swiss chard so valuable. Every mature leaf becomes an opportunity to harvest, while the younger leaves continue developing behind it. You're not waiting for the entire plant to reach a finish line. You're turning the remaining weeks of the growing season into a rolling food supply. And at number 1, lettuce. If you're trying to turn an empty container into food before the first frost, lettuce may be one of the most practical choices you can make. The reason isn't simply that lettuce grows relatively quickly. It's because you don't have to wait for the plant to reach its final size before you can start harvesting. Young leaves are already useful, which means almost every week of growth can potentially become part of your harvest. That completely changes the strategy. Instead of planting a crop and waiting for one specific harvest date, you can begin harvesting the outer leaves or baby leaves as they become large enough to eat. If the weather remains favorable, the plant continues producing. This gives you multiple opportunities to collect food from the same container before winter arrives. Lettuce also fits naturally into the transition from summer to fall. The intense heat that can make lettuce struggle during midsummer begins to fade, creating much better conditions for cool season growth. Instead of seeing the end of summer as the end of gardening, you can see it as the beginning of another window for fresh greens. And because lettuce doesn't need a huge root system or a massive container, it's especially useful for balconies, patios, window boxes, and other small spaces. An otherwise empty container can become a dense patch of fresh leaves without demanding much room. But the most important lesson is this: don't wait for perfection when the calendar is running out. A young head, a handful of baby leaves, or several outer leaves can all become food. If frost is approaching, harvesting earlier is often smarter than gambling on a larger crop that may never get there. That's what makes lettuce the perfect number 1. It doesn't require you to predict exactly how many days remain. It simply gives you something useful at almost every stage. The 3 frost survival strategies. But growing fast isn't the only way to beat the first frost. The smartest container gardeners know that when the weather starts working against you, the strategy has to change. The first strategy is simple. Harvest young. Don't wait for every vegetable to reach its maximum size. A baby carrot is still a carrot. Young lettuce leaves are still a harvest. Small radishes, tender turnip greens, and baby bok choy can all become food before the plant reaches full maturity. When the calendar is running out, waiting for perfection can be the biggest mistake you make. The second strategy is harvest in layers. Instead of treating a plant as one single harvest, look at everything it can give you along the way. Beets can provide greens while the roots continue developing. Turnips can give you leaves first and roots later. Kale and Swiss chard can provide individual leaves repeatedly instead of forcing you to harvest the entire plant at once. This approach allows one container to feed you multiple times during the final weeks of the season. And the third strategy is protect the container. One of the biggest advantages of container gardening becomes obvious when the temperature suddenly drops. A container is mobile. When a hard frost is approaching, you may be able to move smaller pots closer to the house, place them against a protected wall, or bring particularly sensitive plants into a sheltered space. You don't have that same flexibility with vegetables planted directly in the ground. The container itself becomes another tool for extending your harvest window. Put these three strategies together, and the first frost becomes less frightening. You aren't trying to defeat winter. You're simply making the most of the time you have before it arrives. The first frost doesn't mean your food production has to end. It simply means the strategy has to change. Getting those 10 frost-racing crops into the soil guarantees that your patio stays productive as temperatures drop. You have successfully beaten the first freeze, but what happens when the deep winter actually sets in? When the containers freeze solid, even the toughest greens will eventually stop growing. Surviving the first frost is a great victory, but a few fresh salads won't feed your family through January. To achieve true food independence, we must shift our strategy from short-term fresh harvests to long-term winter storage. We need crops that build a permanent stockpile, vegetables meant to be stashed in a root cellar, dried in the pantry, or kept safely dormant in the cold. Let's move from surviving the autumn to conquering the winter. Here are 15 heavy-yielding container crops that will completely fill your pantry and feed you all winter long. At number 15, daikon radish. Most people think of radishes as tiny spring vegetables that must be harvested within a few weeks. Daikon completely changes that perception. This long, crisp Asian radish is grown not for quick salads, but for producing large storage roots that can last well into winter when handled correctly. For gardeners who want to fill their pantry with dependable homegrown food, daikon is one of the easiest places to start. Unlike small round radishes, daikon needs room to grow downward. Choose a container that's at least 12 to 18 inches deep, holding 7 to 10 gallons of soil. A tall nursery pot or deep fabric grow bag works beautifully. Place it in full sun, keep the soil evenly moist, and the roots will push deep into the loose potting mix instead of becoming short and misshapen. It grows well across USDA zones 3 through 10, making it suitable for nearly every gardener in the United States in colder climates. Planting in late summer allows the roots to mature during the cool days of autumn, which dramatically improves both texture and flavor. One fascinating characteristic of daikon is that cool weather transforms it. As temperatures begin dropping, the plant slows its growth and stores more sugars in the root. The result is a radish that's noticeably milder, sweeter, and less peppery than one harvested during hot weather. That's exactly why experienced gardeners deliberately schedule their daikon harvest for late fall rather than rushing to pull it early. Once harvested, trim away the leaves and store the roots in a cool, humid location such as a basement, root cellar, or refrigerator. Properly stored, daikon can remain crisp for 2 to 4 months, providing fresh vegetables long after most summer crops have disappeared. Whether sliced into soups, roasted alongside potatoes, pickled, or grated fresh into salads, it's an incredibly versatile crop. More importantly, it's one of the simplest vegetables to grow if your goal is building a reliable winter pantry from nothing more than a few well-placed containers. At number 14, carrots. Few vegetables reward patient gardeners like carrots. Freshly harvested carrots are already sweet, but the ones grown for autumn and winter storage become even better. As nights grow colder, the plants naturally convert starches into sugars to protect themselves from frost. That's why homegrown fall carrots often taste far sweeter than anything you'll buy at the supermarket. If you're planning a winter pantry, carrots deserve a permanent place in your container garden. The secret begins with the container. Carrots don't need enormous amounts of space, but they do need depth. A 10-gallon container or fabric grow bag that's at least 12 to 15 inches deep gives the roots plenty of room to develop straight and uniform. Fill it with loose, stone-free potting mix, because even small rocks or compacted soil can cause roots to fork or twist. Carrots perform well across USDA zones 3 through 10, although gardeners in colder climates often produce the sweetest harvests by allowing the roots to mature through cool autumn weather. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is overwatering during germination. Carrot seeds are tiny and slow to sprout, sometimes taking 2 weeks or more. The soil should stay consistently moist, but never waterlogged. Once the seedlings become established, the plants require surprisingly little attention. A thin layer of mulch helps keep the soil cool while reducing evaporation during late summer heat. Harvest timing is just as important as planting. Many experienced gardeners deliberately leave mature carrots in the ground until after the first light frost because that's when their flavor reaches its peak. After harvesting, remove the leafy tops immediately so they don't continue drawing moisture from the roots. Store the carrots in damp sand, wood shavings, or perforated bags inside a cool basement or root cellar. Properly stored, they can remain fresh for 4 to 6 months, providing crisp, nutritious vegetables throughout the winter. For any gardener looking to grow dependable food that lasts, carrots are one of the smartest investments a container can produce. At number 13, beets. Beets are one of the few vegetables that give you 2 harvests from a single plant. Long before the roots reach full size, the tender green leaves can be picked for fresh salads or sautéed like spinach. Then, as autumn approaches, the swollen roots become one of the most reliable storage crops you can grow. That combination of immediate harvests and long-term food storage makes beets an excellent choice for gardeners who want every container to produce maximum value. Although beet roots grow underground, they don't require exceptionally deep containers. A 7 to 10-gallon pot with 10 to 12 inches of depth is usually enough for healthy root development. Loose, well-drained potting mix encourages smooth, rounded roots, while consistent moisture helps prevent woody or cracked beets. They adapt well across USDA zones 3 through 10, and like carrots, they actually benefit from cooler temperatures as the season progresses. One reason beets are so beginner-friendly is their resilience. They tolerate light frosts, recover well from changing weather, and rarely demand complicated care. Avoid excessive nitrogen fertilizer, which encourages large leafy tops at the expense of the root. Instead, focus on balanced nutrition and steady watering throughout the growing season. Every few weeks, harvest a handful of the outer leaves while leaving the center intact so the roots continue developing beneath the soil. When the roots reach about 2 to 3 inches in diameter, they're ready to harvest. Brush away loose soil, trim the greens to about an inch above the root, and store them without washing in a cool, humid location. Properly cured and stored, beets remain in excellent condition for 3 to 5 months, making them one of the most dependable vegetables for winter meals. Whether roasted, pickled, boiled, or added to hearty soups, beets provide rich color, outstanding nutrition, and a reliable source of homegrown food long after the garden has gone dormant. At number 12, turnips. Turnips are one of the most underrated vegetables in the garden. Many people see them as an old-fashioned crop, yet they've been feeding families through long winters for centuries. What makes turnips so valuable isn't just the root, it's the fact that every part of the plant is edible. While the roots are quietly growing beneath the soil, the leafy tops provide fresh greens throughout the season. By the time autumn arrives, you've already enjoyed multiple harvests before lifting the roots for winter storage. For gardeners looking to maximize every container, few vegetables offer this much value. Turnips grow surprisingly well in containers. A 7 to 10 gallon pot or grow bag, at least 10 to 12 inches deep, gives the roots plenty of room to develop into smooth, firm bulbs. They perform best in loose, fertile potting mix that drains well while holding enough moisture for steady growth. Turnips thrive across USDA zones 3 through 9, and unlike many summer vegetables, they actually welcome cooler weather. Seeds planted in late summer often produce sweeter, milder roots than those grown during spring because cool autumn temperatures reduce bitterness and improve texture. The key to growing excellent turnips is consistency. Keep the soil evenly moist throughout the growing season and avoid allowing it to dry out completely, which can lead to tough, woody roots. As the plants mature, harvest only a few outer leaves at a time so the roots continue storing energy underground. Many experienced gardeners intentionally leave turnips in the garden until after the first light frost because that brief exposure to cold encourages the roots to develop a noticeably sweeter flavor. When harvest time arrives, trim the leafy tops to about an inch above the root and brush away excess soil without washing them. Stored in a cool, humid basement or root cellar, healthy turnips remain fresh for 4 to 5 months. Whether mashed, roasted, added to hearty soups, or slow-cooked in winter stews, they're one of the simplest and most dependable vegetables you can grow if your goal is filling the pantry with homegrown food that lasts. At number 11, cabbage. Few vegetables symbolize a well-stocked winter pantry quite like cabbage. For generations, gardeners have relied on this dependable crop because it produces large, dense heads that store remarkably well while remaining incredibly versatile in the kitchen. Fresh cabbage can become soups, slaws, stir-fries, roasted side dishes, or homemade sauerkraut that lasts for months. One successful harvest can provide meals throughout much of the winter, making cabbage one of the smartest vegetables any food storage gardener can grow. Although cabbage develops a substantial root system, it's perfectly suited to large containers. Choose a 10 to 15 gallon container or sturdy grow bag with plenty of drainage. Give each plant enough room to develop a full-sized head without competing for nutrients or moisture. Cabbage grows successfully throughout USDA zones 3 through 9, and it's especially well suited for fall production because cool temperatures encourage tighter heads and sweeter flavor. In many parts of the country, planting for a fall harvest produces much better results than trying to grow cabbage through the heat of summer. One mistake many beginners make is harvesting too early. A cabbage head may look large, but it isn't ready until it feels firm and tightly packed when gently squeezed. Continue watering consistently during head formation because irregular moisture can cause splitting just before harvest. Applying a layer of mulch also helps stabilize soil temperature while reducing water loss during late summer. After harvesting, leave a short section of stem attached and remove only the damaged outer leaves. Healthy cabbage heads stored in a cool basement, root cellar, or unheated garage can remain in excellent condition for 4 to 6 months. Some gardeners also preserve part of the harvest by making sauerkraut, extending its shelf life even further. When winter arrives and fresh vegetables become scarce, few sights are more satisfying than pulling a perfectly preserved cabbage from storage, knowing it came entirely from a single container in your own garden. That covers our first group of fresh winter harvests. Which of these cold hardy roots are you planning to grow? Let me know in the comments below. But building a true winter pantry isn't just about storing root vegetables and leafy greens. It is about establishing a firm foundation of deep, rich flavor that will sustain your cooking through the darkest months. As we move into our next group of crops, we are shifting our focus to the essential pantry staples and heavy carbohydrates that form the comforting base of almost every winter meal. Let's look at number 10. At number 10, leeks. Leeks may not attract as much attention as onions or garlic, but they're one of the most dependable vegetables for gardeners who want fresh food well into the cold months. Unlike many crops that must be harvested all at once, leeks are incredibly patient. They continue standing in the garden through chilly weather and can even tolerate light snow in many regions, giving you fresh harvests exactly when most summer vegetables have disappeared. That reliability has made them a favorite winter crop for European and North American gardeners for generations. Fortunately, leeks grow beautifully in containers. A 10 to 15 gallon pot or deep fabric grow bag, at least 12 to 14 inches deep, provides enough space for long, straight stems to develop. They thrive in rich, loose soil that drains well while holding consistent moisture. Leeks perform exceptionally well across USDA zones 3 through 9, where they're often planted in late summer to mature during the cool days of autumn. Unlike many vegetables that slow down as temperatures drop, leeks actually improve in quality as the weather cools, developing a sweeter and milder flavor. One important technique separates average leeks from outstanding ones: blanching the stems. As the plants grow taller, gradually add soil or mulch around the lower stems, covering them little by little throughout the season. This blocks sunlight and produces the long, tender white shafts that are prized in the kitchen. Water consistently, feed lightly with compost during active growth, and avoid allowing the soil to dry completely during warm weather. When winter approaches, you don't necessarily need to harvest every plant. In many climates, healthy leeks can remain in their containers outdoors until needed, protected with mulch during severe cold. For longer storage, lift them carefully, trim the roots and outer leaves, and refrigerate or store them in a cool, humid location for several weeks. Whether added to soups, roasted alongside root vegetables, or slowly caramelized, leeks bring fresh flavor to winter meals long after the rest of the garden has gone quiet. At number 9, credit. Few crops ask for so little while giving so much in return. A single clove planted with intention can quietly develop into a full bulb packed with rich flavor, and once cured properly, that bulb can sit in your pantry for most of the year. It's no surprise that garlic has been one of humanity's most important storage crops for thousands of years. If your goal is building a long-term winter food supply, no container garden feels complete without it. Garlic is remarkably well suited to containers. A 5 to 10 gallon pot with at least 10 inches of depth is enough for several bulbs, provided each clove is spaced about 4 to 6 inches apart. Loose, fertile soil with excellent drainage is essential because garlic dislikes sitting in constantly wet conditions. It grows successfully across USDA zones 3 through 9, with most gardeners planting cloves in autumn so the roots establish before winter. The bulbs remain dormant through the coldest months, then explode with vigorous growth as temperatures warm in spring. One of garlic's greatest advantages is how little maintenance it requires. After planting, water thoroughly and apply a generous layer of mulch to insulate the soil. Throughout winter, there's very little to do. As spring arrives, remove weeds, keep the soil evenly moist, and allow the plants to mature naturally. If hardneck varieties produce flower stalks called scapes, remove them early so the plant directs more energy into forming larger bulbs. Those scapes are also delicious, offering an extra harvest before the bulbs are even ready. After harvesting, resist the temptation to clean the bulbs immediately. Instead, hang them in a dry, shaded, well-ventilated area for 2 to 3 weeks to cure properly. Once fully cured, trim the roots and stems and store the bulbs in a cool, dry place. Good garlic often remains usable for 8 to 10 months, making it one of the longest-lasting vegetables you'll ever grow. For gardeners planning ahead, planting garlic isn't just growing next season's harvest, it's investing in nearly a year of homegrown flavor. At number 8, onions. If there is one vegetable that belongs in every winter pantry, it's onions. Nearly every hearty winter meal begins with them, whether you're making soups, stews, roasted vegetables, casseroles, or slow-cooked meats. The good news is that onions are not only easy to grow in containers, they're also one of the longest-lasting vegetables you can harvest when stored correctly. For full-size storage onions, choose a 10 to 15 gallon container or a deep grow bag with at least 10 to 12 inches of soil. Planting onions too close together is one of the biggest beginner mistakes. Give each bulb enough space to expand so it develops into a large, firm onion instead of remaining small and crowded. Onions perform well across USDA zones 3 through 10, although the correct variety depends on your location. Long day onions are best for northern states, while short day varieties thrive in the southern United States. Selecting the right type for your region makes a dramatic difference in bulb size. Throughout the growing season, onions require surprisingly little attention. Keep the soil evenly moist during active growth, but avoid overwatering as the bulbs mature. One of the clearest signs that harvest time is approaching is when the green tops naturally begin falling over. At this point, stop watering entirely and allow the bulbs to finish drying in the soil for several days if weather permits. After harvest, proper curing is what transforms fresh onions into long-term storage crops. Spread the bulbs in a warm, dry, well-ventilated location for 2 to 3 weeks until the outer skins become papery and the necks are completely dry. Once cured, trim the roots and stems and store the onions in mesh bags or baskets where air can circulate freely. Under cool, dry conditions, many storage varieties remain in excellent condition for 6 to 8 months, making onions one of the most valuable vegetables you can grow if your goal is filling your pantry for winter. At number 7, potatoes. For centuries, potatoes have been one of the world's most important food crops, and for good reason. They produce an incredible amount of calories in a relatively small space. They're easy to cook in countless ways, and when stored properly, they can feed a family throughout much of the winter. Even better, potatoes grow exceptionally well in containers, making them perfect for gardeners without traditional garden beds. The secret to success is choosing a container that's large enough. A 15 to 20 gallon fabric grow bag or deep container provides enough room for multiple layers of developing tubers. Fabric grow bags are especially popular because they improve drainage and naturally air prune the roots, encouraging healthier growth while making harvest remarkably easy. Potatoes grow successfully across USDA zones 3 through 10, although gardeners in warmer climates often plant earlier to avoid the most intense summer heat. As the plants begin growing, gradually add more soil or compost around the stems, a process known as hilling. This encourages the buried stems to produce additional potatoes while preventing developing tubers from being exposed to sunlight, which causes them to turn green and bitter. Water consistently throughout the growing season, especially once flowering begins, because this is when the tubers rapidly increase in size. Harvesting is one of the most satisfying moments in container gardening. Once the foliage naturally yellows and dies back, stop watering and allow the soil to dry for about a week. Then simply tip over the grow bag and gather the hidden potatoes by hand. After harvest, cure them in a cool, shaded location for 1 to 2 weeks so the skins toughen. Properly cured potatoes stored in a cool, dark, well-ventilated place often remain usable for 4 to 8 months. Few container crops provide as much food, versatility, and long-term value as a single grow bag full of homegrown potatoes. At number 6, sweet potatoes. While regular potatoes have earned their place as a pantry staple, sweet potatoes offer something equally valuable: exceptional storage life combined with outstanding nutrition. Rich in complex carbohydrates, fiber, and vitamin A, they're one of the few vegetables that actually improve after harvest. Give them a proper curing period, and they'll become sweeter, drier, and capable of feeding your family throughout much of the winter. Sweet potatoes thrive in containers because their vines naturally spill over the sides while the storage roots develop safely underground. Choose a 20 to 30 gallon fabric grow bag or large nursery container with at least 16 to 18 inches of soil depth. Loose, well-drained soil is essential because compacted soil limits root development. Sweet potatoes perform best in USDA zones 8 through 11, but gardeners in zones 5 through 7 can also produce excellent harvests by planting early and choosing shorter season varieties. Unlike many vegetables that struggle during hot summers, sweet potatoes absolutely love warm weather and continue growing vigorously when temperatures climb. One common mistake is harvesting too early. Even if the vines look impressive, the storage roots continue enlarging until late in the season. Allow the plants to mature fully before digging them carefully to avoid damaging the delicate skins. Freshly harvested sweet potatoes are surprisingly bland compared to what you're used to buying, but that's exactly where curing makes all the difference. Place the freshly harvested roots in a warm, humid location, around 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, 27 to 29 degrees Celsius, for 7 to 10 days. During this time, the skins toughen while natural enzymes convert starch into sugar, dramatically improving both flavor and storage life. Once cured, move them to a cool, dry room, but never refrigerate them. Properly cured sweet potatoes can remain in excellent condition for 6 to 10 months, providing one of the longest-lasting and most nutritious food supplies a container gardener can produce. We have now covered the reliable root cellars and the essential pantry bulbs. But what if you want to grow something even more permanent? The kind of crops that don't just last for a few months, but can safely sit on your shelf for years. As we enter our top 5, we are shifting our focus from fresh vegetables to the ultimate calorie-dense survival foods. These are the historic crops that have faithfully fed generations through the harshest winters. Let's dive into number 5. Dent corn. Most people think of corn as sweet corn eaten fresh off the cob during summer. Dent corn is something completely different. This is the traditional grain corn that fed entire civilizations long before supermarkets existed. Instead of harvesting it young, gardeners allow the ears to fully mature and dry on the stalk. The kernels become hard, dense, and incredibly long-lasting, ready to be ground into cornmeal, polenta, grits, tortillas, cornbread, or stored for future planting. If you're serious about producing real pantry staples, dent corn deserves your attention. Although corn is usually associated with large fields, it can be grown successfully in containers if you have a sunny backyard, patio, or driveway with enough space. The key is growing several containers together because corn depends on wind pollination. A single plant rarely pollinates well. Use 20 to 30 gallon containers or half whiskey barrels, planting several stalks in each container and arranging the pots in a compact block rather than a single row. Dent corn performs best in USDA zones 4 through 10, provided it receives full sun and consistent watering during the hottest part of summer. Unlike sweet corn, patience is essential. Leave the ears on the plants until the husks become completely dry and papery. The kernels should be hard enough that a fingernail cannot easily dent them. After harvesting, hang the ears in a dry, well-ventilated location for several more weeks to ensure every kernel is fully dried before shelling. Once completely dry, remove the kernels from the cob and store them in airtight containers or food-grade buckets with moisture absorbers. Properly dried dent corn can remain usable for several years, making it one of the longest-lasting food crops you can grow. Few container vegetables offer this combination of calories, versatility, and shelf life. For gardeners thinking beyond fresh harvests and toward genuine long-term food security, dent corn marks the point where a container garden begins producing true staple foods rather than simply fresh vegetables. At number 4, dry beans. If you asked previous generations which crop they trusted most to feed a family through winter, many would answer with one word: beans. Unlike fresh green beans that must be eaten soon after harvest, dry beans are allowed to fully mature until the pods become crisp and the seeds harden naturally. Those small seeds are packed with protein, fiber, minerals, and calories, making them one of the most valuable foods any home gardener can produce. Combined with potatoes or corn, beans create complete, nourishing meals that can sustain a family for months. Dry beans grow surprisingly well in containers. Bush varieties are the easiest choice because they remain compact and don't require elaborate trellises. A 10 to 15 gallon container or sturdy fabric grow bag provides enough room for several plants while keeping maintenance simple. If you prefer pole beans for drying, choose a larger container and provide a strong support structure from the beginning. Dry beans perform well across USDA zones 3 through 10, thriving in full sun with moderate watering. One advantage is that beans actually produce better when they're not overfed with nitrogen, since excessive fertilizer encourages leafy growth instead of pods. The biggest difference between green beans and dry beans is knowing when not to harvest. Resist picking the pods while they're still tender. Instead, allow them to remain on the plant until they turn brown, brittle, and completely dry. In humid climates, if wet weather arrives before the pods finish drying, simply pull the entire plant and hang it upside down in a sheltered, well-ventilated area until the pods are ready to shell. Once the beans are completely dry, remove them from the pods and spread them out for several additional days to eliminate any remaining moisture. Store them in airtight glass jars, sealed containers, or food-grade buckets in a cool, dry location. Properly dried beans remain edible for many years, making them one of the longest-lasting foods a gardener can grow. Few crops deliver so much nutrition from such a small amount of space, and that's exactly why dry beans have earned their place among the greatest food storage crops in the world. At number 3, butternut squash. Some vegetables disappear within days of harvest. Butternut squash is the complete opposite. Harvested at the right time and stored properly, it can sit quietly on your pantry shelf for most of the winter, ready whenever you need it. Sweet, nutritious, and incredibly versatile, butternut squash has become one of the most dependable, long-term storage vegetables for home gardeners across America. Although the vines are vigorous, butternut squash adapts surprisingly well to container gardening when given enough room. Choose a 25 to 30 gallon container, half whiskey barrel, or extra large fabric grow bag filled with rich, well-drained soil. Provide a sturdy trellis if you're growing vertically, or allow the vines to spread across a sunny backyard patio or open space. It grows best throughout USDA zones 4 through 10, where the long-tail, warm growing season allows the fruits to mature completely before frost. One of the most common mistakes beginners make is harvesting too early. A mature butternut squash should have a deep tan color and a rind so firm that it cannot be easily scratched with your fingernail. Leave several inches of stem attached when harvesting, because this small detail dramatically improves storage life by reducing the chance of rot developing where the fruit was cut. After harvest, cure the squash in a warm, dry location for 10 to 14 days. This process hardens the skin, heals small surface injuries, and prepares the fruit for long-term storage. Once cured, place the squash in a cool, dry room with good air circulation. Never stack them tightly together, since airflow is essential for preventing spoilage. Properly cured butternut squash often remains in excellent condition for 6 to 12 months, making it one of the longest-lasting vegetables you can grow in containers. Throughout the coldest months of the year, those beautifully stored squash become hearty soups, roasted side dishes, creamy purees, casseroles, and homemade breads. It's hard to imagine a more satisfying reminder that the work you put into your garden months earlier is still feeding your family long after winter has arrived. At number 2, rutabaga. If carrots and turnips are the dependable workhorses of the winter garden, rutabaga is the heavyweight champion. This often overlooked root vegetable has been feeding families through harsh northern winters for centuries because it combines exceptional cold tolerance with one of the longest storage lives of any vegetable. Many modern gardeners overlook rutabaga simply because it's not as common in grocery stores, but for anyone building a true winter pantry, it's one of the smartest crops you can grow. Rutabagas need slightly more room than turnips, making them well suited to a 10 to 15 gallon container or deep fabric grow bag with at least 12 inches of loose, fertile soil. Give each plant enough space to expand because mature roots can become impressively large. They thrive throughout USDA zones 3 through 9, and unlike warm season vegetables, rutabagas actually perform their best as temperatures begin to fall. Planting in late summer allows the roots to mature during cool autumn weather, producing sweeter, denser flesh with outstanding storage quality. One of the secrets experienced gardeners know is to let rutabagas experience a few light frosts before harvesting. The cooler temperatures encourage the plant to convert stored starch into natural sugars, creating a noticeably richer flavor. Water consistently throughout the growing season, but avoid excessive nitrogen fertilizer, which encourages leafy growth instead of large storage roots. After harvesting, trim the leafy tops to about 1 inch above the crown without damaging the skin. Brush away loose soil and move the roots into a cool, humid storage area, such as a basement or root cellar. Under proper conditions, rutabagas remain firm and flavorful for 4 to 6 months, often lasting well into spring. Whether mashed with butter, roasted alongside potatoes, or slowly cooked into hearty winter stews, they provide dependable nutrition when fresh garden harvests have long since disappeared. Few vegetables combine productivity, cold tolerance, and storage life as effectively as rutabaga, making it one of the true stars of a winter food garden. At number 1, Jerusalem artichokes. Despite their name, they're neither from Jerusalem nor true artichokes. They're actually a species of sunflower that produces crisp, nutty-flavored underground tubers. What makes them our number 1 choice isn't just their impressive harvest, it's the fact that they may be the closest thing to a permanent food reserve a gardener can grow. Plant them once, and with minimal care, they'll continue producing year after year. Jerusalem artichokes are vigorous plants, so they grow best in 25 to 30 gallon containers, half whiskey barrels, or very large grow bags. Large containers help control their spread while still allowing the tubers plenty of room to multiply. They perform exceptionally well across USDA zones 3 through 9, tolerating freezing winters and thriving through hot summers with very little attention once established. Give them full sun, consistent moisture during active growth, and enough vertical space because mature plants can easily reach 6 to 8 feet tall. Unlike many root vegetables, Jerusalem artichokes don't have to be harvested all at once. In fact, many gardeners intentionally leave the tubers in the soil throughout winter. The cold actually improves their flavor, and whenever the ground isn't frozen solid, fresh tubers can be dug exactly when needed. That's an advantage almost no other storage crop can match. Instead of relying entirely on a root cellar, part of your food supply remains safely stored underground by nature itself. If you do choose to harvest the entire crop, store the tubers in slightly damp sand or wood shavings inside a cool basement or root cellar, where they'll remain fresh for several months. But perhaps the greatest benefit is this: no matter how carefully you harvest, a few small tubers almost always remain behind. The following spring, they'll sprout into a brand new crop without you planting another seed. That incredible combination of massive yields, reliable winter harvests, and perennial productivity makes Jerusalem artichokes one of the smartest long-term food investments any container gardener can make, and that's why they earn the #1 spot on today's list. A well-stocked winter pantry doesn't begin in the middle of winter. It begins months earlier with smart, intentional planning. Every container you carefully prepare is an investment in future meals, whether it's crisp carrots pulled from storage, garlic hanging in the pantry, beans sealed in jars, or squash waiting patiently on a shelf. Together, these crops prove that you don't need acres of farmland to grow food that lasts. A sunny backyard, a patio, or a collection of well-managed containers can provide an incredible amount of nourishment long after the growing season ends. If you enjoyed today's countdown, let us know in the comments which of these crops you're planning to grow this season. We'd also love to hear what vegetables you rely on most for winter storage. And if you want more practical container gardening ideas, seasonal planting guides, and self-sufficiency tips, be sure to subscribe to Slow Living Chill Farm. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.